If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 21. As soon as Harry uttered the last word of his true name, a thin, dark line appeared at the base of the spire. It was a massive gamble. A true name was a group of words in the ancient language that summarized that person's existence. Knowing something's true name gives you power over it. Harry was aware that this was a safety measure against Galbatorix or any other person with evil intentions towards the content of the Vault of Souls. Which he didn't have. He was only here for a fair trade. But it still made him uneasy. How would they react to him? The line spread further, it ran upward 50 feet and then split in two and arched down to either side, tracing the outline of two broad doors. Upon the doors appeared row after row of glyphs limned in gold, wards against both physical and magical detection. Once the outline was complete, the doors swung outward upon hidden hinges, scraping aside the dirt and plants that had accumulated before the spire since the doors had last opened, whenever that had been. Through the doorway was a huge vaulted tunnel that descended at a steep angle into the bowels of the earth. The doors ground to a halt, and the clearing fell silent again. A dark tunnel became visible to Harry. Now was the time of truth. Maybe he had gambled his life away. As soon as he stepped through the threshold, the doors swung shut behind him and closed with a large crack. Garjazla. A light rose up from the palm of his hand and circled around him. Going down into the dark tunnel, it went deeper and deeper into the earth. It went a straight path into the depth, it neither branched nor turned. Until he noticed an orange glow in the distance. He was approaching the end of the tunnel, a huge black arch that was covered entirely with sculpted glyphs, which made the arch look as if it were wrapped in thorns. A smell of brimstone was in the air, but his bubblehead charm was protecting him. This archway was enchanted. While he lacked the expertise to actually tell from his understanding of magic, he knew it from reading the books. It would take away the memories about the contents of the vault once they left. It is just good that he took precautions and placed several notes for himself on Skagos, his store, and his inventory. He is also using the video recording function of the notebook. It would be interesting to see whether it could affect his inventory or gamer system. On the other side, he stood on one side of a circular chamber over 200 feet across with a large pit in the center, from which he radiated a dull orange glow. It was hot inside. The outer part of the room was circled by two concentric rings of bench-like tiers, the back one higher than the front one, and on them were numerous dark objects. Unhatched dragon eggs, ready to see the light of the world once it was once again saved for them. Behind them, the walls sparkled in numerous places, as if decorated with colored crystals. Elgener, the dragon's hearts of hearts. They are gem-like organs of dragons that could store their consciousness even after their deaths. Dragons could even disgorge its Elgenery and grant it to someone. In the event of its body's death, their consciousness could still possess it, even from a large distance. Elgenery were the secret behind Galbatorix's might. They are able to enhance the mental powers of their users and even share their energy to power spells. Since the consciousness of the dragon lives on, it could also share its wisdom. But it was unlikely that there were any Elgenery in Galbatorix's possession working with him willingly. He had taken the Elgenery from every rider he slayed and even stole the ones the old rider order possessed, breaking their minds to use them. Right next to the glowing pit stood a man with a dragon head, his body gleamed like polished steel. He held a metal shield in his left hand and the iridescent blade of a rider in his right. Rider swords were quite valuable, being made from bright steel, a metal originating from a meteor that had landed in Duwelden-Varden. Every last one of them was forged by Renan. She is without a doubt the greatest smith in this world, but she has sworn to no longer forge another one of these blades after Galbatorix rises to power. They were rarities, most of them having disappeared in the Rider Wars, most of them were in Galbatorix's collection. And still, it was the least valuable of the objects in the vault. Besides the dragon eggs and Elgenery, the body of the dragon-headed man is currently the peak of magic in this world. An extremely complex magical construct. Behind the man, Harry could barely make out a throne-like object. But it wasn't anything Harry could focus on now. The dragon-headed man strode forward, his eyes staring at Harry with crimson flames as he let out a peculiar metallic roar until the other Elgenery had woken up and joined in. Suddenly, he felt something piercing into his mind. Gamer's mind blocked mental attack. 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 Yeah, there is that. The reason why this was such a big gamble. Even for Aragon in the original story, they first ripped into his and his dragon Sapphira's minds to study their memories for their intentions. Obviously, this wasn't something Harry wanted, but before he got attacked, he ordered, "Allow mental communication." And a voice appeared in his mind, "How do you know of this place, Otherworldler? Why shouldn't we just kill you? Are you aware of the danger you are putting us in? You already answered your own question. While the magic you used to hide yourself was extremely powerful, it doesn't cross the boundaries of worlds." Harry replied with legitimacy in the ancient language so they would believe him, directing his thoughts towards the large white Elgener, whom he knew had spoken to him, carefully giving a truthful but partial explanation. "Some of my unique abilities allowed me to read the histories of many worlds, including this one. I know the dragons and dragon riders devised a plan to protect your species from Galbatorix's clutches until someone with the potential to defeat Galbatorix appears. It's nice to meet you, Omerote. You even know our names." The white Elgenery, which was Omerote, the dragon of the previous leader of the dragon riders, Vreel, replied. "Only some. I am not all-knowing. I just have useful information. Like the piece of bright steel under the roots of the Menno tree and the secret of Galbatorix's strength." Harry replied. "And you came because you believed you could defeat Galbatorix? Or what are your intentions of entering this place?" Omerote asked directly, "How come we can't invade your mind, even with our combined power, to see your intentions? So many questions. You can't enter my mind because it's an ability bestowed on me by a higher power, similar to my power to traverse worlds. It's on a completely different level than everyone in this world combined. Even as my own power, I am unable to truly comprehend its true strength." Harry replied, "And yes, I believe I have the potential to defeat Galbatorix. Right now, no. In the future, absolutely. This world is only a low mid-tier world, strength-wise. The world I am living in is seemingly only a low-tier world, the one I was born in is about the same as this one, maybe slightly weaker. But I will become stronger in the future, with access to stronger worlds, without a doubt. How close we are in the future depends on this meeting. It's a huge gamble for me, too. You now have my true name. If this goes wrong, I would have to flee this world and never enter it again. Quit stalling, humans. As long as you leave through the archway and don't become a threat to this world, we won't use your name against you. You haven't revealed your intention of coming here yet." Omerote interrupted him, "Some of my brethren here are wild dragons, they are not as patient as myself. I don't plan to harm any of you if I don't have to defend myself. I am not planning anything evil toward you or the dragon race. Rather, I am here to work out a beneficial agreement between all of us. One that will help us even after Galbatorix has been defeated, no matter who did it. There are precisely 5 things I have come here to accomplish. Even if only one of them happened, it would be a great help for myself." Harry said it was still in the ancient language, so he couldn't tell a lie. "Speak, human. What is it that you are offering us, and what is it that you want?" Omerote is intrigued. Without a doubt, there were things they wanted from Harry too, their race was on the brink of extension. Chapter 22. Galbatorix is currently searching for the name of names, so he can use it to control anyone's use of the ancient language. He wants to cement his rule in such a way and finish any resistance. It will only take 1 or 2 years until he finds it. Harry explained, giving away the information he needed to set up the negotiations. Once that happens, the only people able to resist him are the ones capable enough to use magic without the ancient language. There are not many. And truly capitalize in an organized manner would be me. I offer my help in taking down Galbatorix. And what is it that you want for it in exchange?" Omerote said in Tuft, "How can we know that we are not just replacing one tyrant with another? I am not planning to replace Galbatorix. He is a madman, wasting the potential of the land and the people. I am already a lawful ruler of my own land. Replacing him with someone capable would allow me to set up trade relations with the people of Alagagia, bettering my own people in the process. But this is not what I want from you." Harry said before continuing, "First of all, I wish to try whether one of these dragon eggs wants to accept me as their rider. I don't wish to force the matter and will accept the outcome." The Elgenery remained silent for a moment before replying, "As long as you don't force the matter through any magic like Galbatorix did. We are willing to let you try." Harry nodded before going on, "Secondly, I know that you are aware of it. I hope you can help me overcome the limits of my human body and transform it, giving me the strength of the elves. We are unable to fulfill your request as you currently are. It would only be possible if one of the eggs were to hatch for you. The only transformation we can think of is the natural dragon rider transformation that happens over time. We can accelerate the process. Omerode replied. That is fine. Third, I wish to see whether any of the Elgeneri are willing to accompany me and assist me in seeing different worlds. Also, one that would teach me the magic of their riders. Harry requests that this be the one offer he was the most unsure of whether any of them would agree to it. This time the Elgeneri remained still for quite a long time, clearly communicating with each other until Omerode broke the silence. While there are some of us interested in exploring different worlds, something that even we during our long lives haven't witnessed yet. All of us agree that Galbatorix has to be taken care of first. Neither could we search your mind for your true intentions. Before any of us leave with you, we would like to watch your deeds first. While something said in the ancient language is truthful, the right words can easily determine it too. Help the fight with Galbatorix first, and we will talk again. If you should become a dragon rider, I am sure Ormes would be happy to help with your training. What else is there? I see the wisdom in your decision. Harry nodded. It was already more than he had expected. I would also like to have permission to study Qeric's body. It's a masterpiece of magic and could grant me a lot of wisdom. I must say, its creator is a master of its craft. Indeed, Qeric, hunter of the Nidwal and bane of the Urgles, is powerful. But the body granted by Silver, the enchantress, is the very peak of magic that has been reached during the era of the Dragon Riders. And still too advanced for you. We will consider it after the fall of Galbatorix, but right now we can't risk his existence. He is needed to protect this place. You should first gain a complete magical education. What is your last request, Otherworldler? It's an offer to you, hoping that you will accept it. I want to invite you to send some of the eggs here to my world. I have a whole unpopulated island that could be hidden by magic, the hatchlings could live there freely. Harry said, having the possibility to gain the help of your mighty kind would be a wonderful possibility. The chance of living a life free of Galbatorix is an intriguing offer. But like we already stated, we don't know you enough. You could be worse than him. We will consider it based on our future observations. Allowing our kind to live in another world too would be a good way to ensure its survival in the case of another Galbatorix. But for now, we choose to remain here. Omerode said what the Elgeneri have decided together. To be honest, the only reason we are entertaining your requests and don't kill you right here and now is because we were unable to even slightly enter your mind. So Galbatorix won't be able to rip the secret of this play out of you. Your strange existence may be an even greater hope than the new dragon rider we brought into this world. You may try to see if any of the eggs present wish to bond with you, Otherworldler. But be warned, respect their decision. Harry nodded as he approached the eggs on the pedestals all around the room. He counted 243 of them. According to Omerode, 26 of them are set aside for future dragon riders. The largest egg was almost 5 feet tall, in red and gold. In a casual manner, Harry approached the first of the eggs that were set aside for the riders and touched them, feeling the smooth surface of the egg. It was yellow and really resembled a jewel, like a pretty stone. Potential dragon bond detected. Do you wish to bond with and become a dragon rider? It works. It was just a guess, but it works. Harry thought to himself. Will the dragons notice that the connection is basically forced? Wrong. The connection isn't forced. Being a gamer turns you into the main character of your own game, called your life. In the eyes of any of these dragon eggs, you will look like the ideal rider for them. Perfect. Now the question is, do I actually want to become one? Will this be my only familiar? Harry asked. Becoming a dragon rider is different from having a familiar. Good. Now which egg to pick? Harry said as he stared at the yellow egg. Observe. Name, gender, male. Occupation, dragon egg. Level, 0. Age, 0. Race, dragon, Alagagia. HP, 20 MP, 50. STR, 2 VIT, 1. Int, 8 WIS, 6. Dex, 3 Cha, 3. LCK, 1. Reputation, 3, neutral. Description, a yellow dragon egg that has laid hidden with others for over 100 years in the Vault of Souls to protect the dragon race from Galbatorix. The shell of a dragon egg is quite resistant and strong. He checked the statuses of the different dragon eggs, which he was allowed to choose from. For being unhatched eggs at level 0, all of them had quite good stats. But they were dragons, one of the strongest races in any world. Still, there were slight differences in their stats, some were slightly stronger than others. He couldn't tell whether it would have any effect on their long-term growth, but why not choose one of the stronger ones since he had free choice either way? Another important factor was the color. He had intentionally chosen the yellow one to test whether it would react to his gaming system because he didn't like the color and could pick one of the other ones instead of looking suspicious. It was also a huge relief to know that it was working. With it, the danger of having revealed his true name to the inhabitants of the Vault of Souls could be soon avoided. Bonding with a dragon and becoming a dragon rider was such a massive change to his very being that his true name would inevitably change over the next few weeks or months. Harry was sure the Elgener were also aware of that fact. But they probably hoped that having bonded with one of their kind would give him enough loyalty towards them that they didn't need to fear him. At least as long as his dragon lived, and he didn't become mad like Galbatorix. Soon, he narrowed his selection to the 3 with the best stats. They had the same amount of stat points, but their dispersion varied a bit. One was golden, like Oromy's dragon Glader, hiding in Duwelden Varden. It wasn't really his style. Another one was completely black, which fit more into his personal style, with the whole necromancer theme he had going with an army of inferi for himself. But the one attracting him the most for some reason was a night blue egg, a very dark blue almost resembling black, reminding him of the night sky. He touched it and observed it. Name, gender, female. Occupation, dragon egg. Level, 0. Age, 0. Race, dragon, Alagagia. HP, 50 MP, 70. STR, 4 VIT, 4. Int, 12 WIS, 8. Dex, 5 Cha, 4. LCK, 3. Reputation, 3, neutral. Description: a night blue dragon egg that has laid hidden with others for over 100 years in the Vault of Souls to protect the dragon race from Galbatorix. The shell of a dragon egg is quite resistant and strong. This particular dragon egg has formed a connection with the user. Notification: a natural dragon bond was detected. Initiating the bonding process. The egg is hatching. What? Chapter 23. Cracks formed on the smooth surface of the night blue egg, first one, then another and another. Harry watched in stupor. He had expected that his gamer system would circumvent the process of the dragon egg's selection and that one would bind with him in a natural way, but that was unexpected. At the top of the smooth egg, where all the cracks met, a small piece began to wobble. It looked like the dragon inside was balancing it, then it rose and landed on the floor. A small, dark head pulled out of the hole, followed by the rest of the body. For a moment, the small dragoness stared at him before she skittered towards him. She was no longer than his forearm, yet in his eyes, she looked so beautiful. He felt a small connection between himself and the dragon form, and then her nose touched the palm of his outstretched right hand. A blast of pure, wild instinctive magic surged into his hand and up his arm in a blast of light. The middle of his palm shimmered and formed a diffused white oval. His skin itched and burned. The player has formed a bond with his dragon. Skills acquired. Gedway Ignacia, passive, LV. Max, the mark of a dragon rider. It's located where his dragon touched him for the first time. It acts as natural foci and empowers your magic like a wand. Spells are 200% more powerful. Spells use 60% less mana. Dragon Bond, passive, LV1, you have formed a bond with your dragon. It allows you to communicate mentally, feels its emotions, and forges a close bond between the two of you. It also allows the rider to feel the location of his dragon. Mental powers, active or passive, LV1, the ability to communicate mentally with others. It also allows the user to sense minds and even read or control them. Range, 1m. Grammari Mastery, Upper Entice, has leveled to 42. Mind Magic Mastery, Expert, Passive, has leveled to 34. Dragon Riders seem to have quite a lot of natural advantages. Harry thought as he saw the notification. Not only didn't he need to use a wand anymore since his Gedway Ignacia was more powerful, he unlocked quite a few useful skills. And even his Grammari Mastery has leveled up, which is the ability to manipulate energies. That was unexpected. We didn't believe that any of the young ones would choose to bond with you. Omerode communicated with him and then his newborn dragon. Hello, hatchling. It's refreshing to see you born. All the little female dragons responded with emotions. She was unable to communicate in words yet. She needed to learn a language first. She looked at Harry and communicated that she was hungry. He opened his inventory and gave her some meat. Here, little one. I think you will need a name. Harry tuffed towards her in the ancient language, which told the little dragon his intentions as she gobbled down the fresh meat that had been perfectly preserved in his inventory. The alchemy meanwhile observed it with interest. Let's see a good name for a female dragon. Nyx? Aurora? Off-Eyes? Nightwing? Dreadwing? Tiamat. At the Tiamat, her emotions told him that she liked it. Hey, Tiamat likes the primordial goddess of the sea. Not bad. Your name shall be Tiamat. Name, Tiamat. Gender, female. Occupation, dragon. Level, 1. Age, 1. Race, dragon, Alagagia. HP, 70 MP, 90. STR, 6 VIT, 6. Int, 16 WIS, 9. Dex, 8 Cha, 5. LCK, 5. Reputation, 33, liked. Description, a night blue dragon hatchling, once one of the eggs hidden in the Vault of Souls. She has bonded with her dragon rider, Harry Potter. Your stats have grown a bit after hatching. Harry sent his thoughts towards the small dragon, still focusing on her food. Domaro chose to speak up at this moment. This changes things quite a bit. You are now a member of the Order of the Dragon Riders. One of our own. I have no interest in becoming the subordinate of anyone. So don't count me as a dragon rider, but rather an independent one. Harry replied instantly and firmly. Definitely, he wouldn't become some dragon rider under the command of Aragon or anything. He was a lord, had his own land, titles in multiple worlds, and a whole multiverse to explore. There were many things he wished to accomplish, and being a direct subordinate of anyone was just a shake he didn't wish to have. That is not necessary. Technically, since you found this place and are currently its most powerful member, you've become the leader of the order. Your dragon is just less than 2 months younger than Aragon's. With a bit of magic, this can be changed quickly. But I don't believe that you will remain solely in this world. Maybe you will create your own branch of the order. But there are still some factors that have changed. Domarot stated, you now represent the interest of the dragon race by becoming the rider of one of its last members. Sure, but you have more than enough eggs here to restore the race yourself. Harry replied. Yes, this wasn't what I meant. Once you reveal yourself to the world, Galbatorix will know that he has missed some eggs. He will put even more focus on you to find us. Domarot reasoned, it would be prudent if you hid in your own world and trained yourself to a higher level. But you will need teachers for that. We will send 3 of us with you, while the rest of us remain to assist in the fight against Galbatorix from here and keep an eye on the world. Valdr, the eldest of us and one of the wisest, will be a great guide for you. While he was a wild dragon, he discovered many mysteries of the world. Jura is the dragon of an elvish rider, having dedicated her life to the mastery of magic. She knows everything you will need to master the magical training of every rider and can teach Tiamat all she needs as a dragon. And lastly, Miremel belonged to a human rider, while his understanding was never the greatest beyond the necessary level for a rider. Her rider had been a master of warfare and combat. She will be able to teach you all about strategy and battle. It is a great honor to have them join me. Harry nodded. I believe your advice for me to hide in my world and train is a good one. With them as my teachers, I should be able to master Grammari and everything I need as a dragon rider. It would be fatal if Galbatorix learned of your existence. But I have to inform you that in around 4 months, I will have to appear. I will try to cover up the existence of Tiamat as much as possible, but I can't guarantee it. That is acceptable. Also, as long as you agree to grant us protection in your own world if the worst should happen and maybe allow some of the dragons to live in it, we will grant you your second request and accelerate your transformation as a dragon rider. Domarot said, having changed their minds now that he was a rider. Like I already said, it's something I prefer. As long as you help me protect my land, I won't use you against your will either. Harry replied honestly. As long as he could befriend the dragons, they should agree to help him either way. Once he manages to beat Galbatorix, it will become even easier to convince them. Then so be it. The alchemy began to glow as a massive concentration of magic formed in the vault, and the apparition of a dragon appeared in front of him in its full glory. This is our gift, so you may face Galbatorix and other challenges in your future. It said as it touched where a short while ago Tiamat had touched him, placing a Gidway Ignatia on his palm. Suddenly, he became rigid as incandescent heat poured through his body, consuming his insides. His vision flashed red and black, he could feel the remains of his scar on his forehead burn, where once a Horcrux had resided, and it slowly began to fade away. Every bone, every piece of his skin that had once suffered under the abuse of his relatives as Harry Potter, the scar on his arm where once a basilisk had bitten him, it all began to burn. Do you wish to accept the race change? Yes or no? With the last of his strength, he selected yes, as the energy truly began to penetrate into his body. Fleeing to safety, he fell deep within himself, where darkness grasped him and he had not the strength to resist it. Last, he heard the voice of the ethereal dragon say before everything around him fell dark, "We can't wait to see your path." Chapter 24. Something wet tickling his face woke Harry up. Opening his eyes, he looked into the dark blue, shimmering eyes of a little dragon. "Morning, Tiamat." He sent his tufts still drowsy. But instantly, something else fell into his eyes. Race change to elf/human, magical/dragon rider. Elf/human, magical/dragon rider, an elf/human hybrid that possesses the bloodline of magical humans, granting them a stronger body, a longer life than other humans, and the ability to use magic. Combined with the immortality and resistance of the elves and their powerful bodies, natural attunement to magic and nature, and wise minds that can contain the memories of their eternal lives, lastly, the inheritance of the dragon riders is added to the whole mix. Immortal, cannot die of old age. Natural magic attunement and abilities. Sharp senses. Elvish bloodline. New skill acquired. Elvish bloodline, passive, LV. Max, your natural elvish bloodline grants you a stronger body. STR, VIT, Dex, and CHA are 20% higher. Name, Harry J. Potter. Class, the gamer. Gender, male. Level, 70. Next level, 21.5%. Title, The Boy Who Lived. Age, 16. Species, elf/human, magical/dragon rider. HP, 550. MP, 4158. Strength, 56, 47. Vitality, 54, 45. Intelligence, 250. Wisdom, 100. Dexterity, 57, 48. Charisma, 60, 50. Luck, 10. Points, 10. Okay, it seems that stats raised through skills doesn't unlock the stat skills. I will have to still raise the base stat. Harry realized this as he checked his status. The whole immortality thing was also nice, at least he didn't have to worry about old age. His senses were also far sharper than before. He could hear, smell, taste, and see better. It was an intense but strange feeling. If he had been born with it, it wouldn't have mattered. But he knew how different he was before, and these new impressions felt like a high. Well woken, young rider. The voice of Omerode resounded in his head, it's good to see you take the changes so well. Thank you, Omerode. But I will need to learn to control myself first. I will need to put some work into it. Thank you for your gift. Harry nodded gratefully. He had already confirmed that the limit on his swordsmanship skill had been the limit of his own body, and he now could level it up. Unfortunately, he was missing a proper sparring partner. The leveling speed for the skill would be much slower than against Arya. In Westeros, there was no one that could compare to an over 100-year-old elf. Also, each level of Mastery was several times slower than the previous one, and the difference got even bigger with every rank. It made sense, at some point, improving something becomes far harder than before. I will take my leave, elders. But there is something I wish to try. We will need a way for you to contact me. Would you be willing to try something? Harry asked, having a spark of inspiration. If there is a way to contact each other between worlds, it would be appreciated. Omerode agreed. Create Guild Dragon Riders following, he invited the Elgunner and Tiamat. The eggs couldn't be invited. The new Guild Dragon Riders was created. Name, Dragon Riders. Guild Master, Harry J. Potter. Members, 139. Faction, none. Facilities, Vault of Souls, hidden. Funds, 0. Troops, 1 Dragon Rider, Q'Erak, 136 Elgunnery. This is part of my power. I am able to grant you a small bit of it by inviting you into my guild. Harry said as he explained the specialties of the status, skill, and guild screens they also received. By saying message, you will be able to contact me or any other member over the message screen, or by accessing the guild board, you can leave messages for all to see. Thank you, young writer. This will help keep in contact with you. Omerode agreed, as he understood the principle of the minor system they have received. It lacked many of the functionalities his own possessed but was useful enough. Is this your home? Asked Tiamat in the Westerosi common tongue. Harry hadn't wasted any time and gave him one of the essences he had collected from the dead Skagosi through their contracts. If he could accelerate her learning process, he would do so. Indeed, it is. It's not much. But one day it will turn into a big castle, and my territory will become the most powerful in this world. Harry nodded. It doesn't look like much. Jura, a green elgener of a dragon once belonging to an elven rider, said this as she used her power to sense the island. The other two Viladr, the ancient grey elgenery and the brown one Miremel, are doing the same. If you had seen what it was like a few months ago when I arrived here, then you would talk differently. These people had lived mostly in caves or cheap wooden settlements. Now you can already see the beginnings of a port city and some well-made villages with stone buildings. They didn't even have any of the mills, you can make out at the river. Harry explained. In fact, he was quite astonished at how far the construction had progressed. Each settlement had gained a few saws, windmills, or water mills based on their needs. The ones where the 5 smiths currently resided in his territory had gained water-powered smithing hammers, which would accelerate their work speed. But the stone of his inferior-powered quarries had also been well used. They had progressed well, following his exact instructions for a foundation for his port city and the 3 fortresses that would block the 3 other entry points to Skagos. The storage of his mines was also bursting. His inferi were just too efficient for his handful of smiths to keep up with. Even with the new water-powered hammers, they couldn't lessen the stored ore in his storehouses, but the tools and forged goods were piling up. While the foundation for his future port stood, and even the first docks, warehouses, inns, and buildings were standing at the coast, he had no ships beyond a few small boats unfit for trade. I will have to take a journey soon. Harry added towards his Draconan companions, I need to procure some ships, maybe even a few shipbuilders. It would be good to see a bit of the world. But Tiamat is still too young to carry you. Miremel reasoned, I don't believe we should force her to grow with magic. No, I don't want that either. I want her to grow up the regular way. We will take my broom. Since you can even communicate from inventory, there is no problem, and Tiamat will have enough flying practice. Harry replied. I want to carry you. Tiamat sent her tufts in the common tongue, if a dragon could look like it was pouting, then it probably looked like this. You will, but give yourself time, little one. In due time, you will be the one calling me that. Harry laughed mentally. Before he took a look at his faction screen. Faction, Harry Potter's faction, temporary name. Number of members, 51.362 total, 38.438 human, 32.319 enslaved, 3.131 young, children, 2,988 free, 15,978 inferi. Locations, Skagos and Skane, 33 villages, 4 towns. Buildings, Dimensional Trader, see details. Funds, 8,132 gold dragons. Troops, 15,978 inferi. It seemed like the free folk from beyond the wall had arrived too. Surprisingly, they had brought more than twice the number of people that had been part of the Rattleshirts tribe. Hopefully, that would mean that the number of skin changers was also larger. They were the most valuable resource these free folk had amongst them. But he wouldn't complain about additional manpower and troops. The more people he had, the faster his territory would grow. His inferior workforce was already a cheat that no other lord, king, or whatever the ruler of a territory called himself could keep up with. He needed to inform his people that they shouldn't talk about any dragons for now. It's better too if he only lets Tiamat fly during nights while disillusioned. That way, she could grow without anyone bothering her. One day it would be revealed, but he didn't wish for even the slightest rumors to spread yet while Tiamat was still a little hatchling that couldn't fly. We will wait a month before we take a journey to Bravos. I want Tiamat to grow a bit more, so she can fly safely. It's quite a bit of distance. Harry decided he needed trade ships to sell his produce, but it wasn't dire. More trade would mean that more people would learn what he was up to. He wasn't scared by anyone in this world, but they could become annoying. We can still start with my magic lessons. I am sure I will be able to learn quite a lot, and he could reopen his store. His dimensional trader skill had only leveled to 3 with the deal he made with Area. It got a small upgrade, but it wasn't much yet. Interdimensional trader, active/passive, LV3, a skill received through the essence of the interdimensional trader, allowing the user to turn a building in his possession into an interdimensional store, connecting it to the multiverse. Sub-skills. Create store, active creates a dimensional store in an owned building, 1/1. Appraise, active the ability to appraise objects for their value and relevant trading information. Close/open store, active the ability to lock and open the door. Create temporary door, active this creates a temporary door at your location that you can return to from your store. Once you create another one, the old one will be replaced. Cast time, 10 minutes. This skill gets leveled through sales. More expensive or valuable sales grant more experience. Chapter 25. POV. A death game. Oh, God! How do these things always happen to me? A lone girl dejectedly walks through the streets, her head low. Around her, there was chaos, people screaming and panicking, and children crying. She wore a red shirt, a brown leather chest piece around her waist, and a short white skirt. Her brown boots grinned onto the gravel path of the town of beginnings. A hollow expression marred her face. This sort of thing wasn't supposed to happen. Her friends. Her family. They probably didn't care that she's stuck here. It had been painful to notice how the school friends she had were not really interested in being friends with her. Secretly creating group chats without her, only offering to hang out rarely, typically when they had forgotten their purse. The only reason she had entered this god-forsaken game in the first place was a desperate attempt to make new friends. But anyone who dies in Incrad dies for real. She would already be lucky if her parents didn't enter her room and tear her headset off for not doing her chores tomorrow. Not even noticing the fact that she won't get up in the morning or go to school. It's like life kicking me down, while I am already at the bottom. She sighed as she lifelessly continued on the path, not even seeing where she was going. Just why me? All I wanted were friends. A purpose. A place where I belong. Until she accidentally walked into a wall. Only then did she realize that she had entered a dark alleyway and accidentally grabbed something. It took a moment to identify what it was. A door handle. Giving the handle a slow turn and pulling back on the handle, the wall peels back, revealing a heavy wooden door. The symbol of a black rooster was on it. She hesitantly opened the door to take a look at what was on the other side. It looked like a shop. Weapons, armor, clothes, and more. The walls looked like they were carved into stone. It fit the style of Incrad, but not the alley. Neither fit the weapons on the floor they were on. Any weapon she had seen was made out of copper. But everything here seemed like steel. Did she find a hidden shop or something? Behind a heavy wooden counter made of the same material as the door sat a young man about her age. He was the most beautiful boy she had ever seen. While he resembled a regular human with his wild raven black hair, his eyes were slightly more almond-shaped with a blazing green in them, his skin was fair, and his ears were slightly pointy. This boy had some kind of otherworldly look to him. She wasn't the only one watching, the boy had looked at her and, for some reason, above her head. That's new. Welcome to my shop. What can I get for you? He spoke up, while she was confused about what he meant with new. You She blinks, looking around while stepping inside. Pulling the door shut behind her, a lance of pain shoots through her head. Several pop-ups appear around her with dull flashes and blaring lights. Asterisk error. System malfunction. You have left the borders of Incrad. Return, or you will face termination. Asterisk error corrected. System sustained by shop. Death timer negated. For a moment, it looked like the young man in front of her closed an invisible notification himself before asking, are you okay? This place is outside of Incrad? What? How is that possible? Where am I? She whispers as she takes a closer look at the shop. There were no windows, just the door she came through and another door right behind the boy. She opened the door again, only to see the alley she was just passing through. Closing the door, she turned towards the doorkeeper, who had walked around the counter. Where exactly are we? This shop is an extra-dimensional space of some sort. If you passed through the door behind me, you would get into the world I am currently living in, while the door you came through leads to the multiverse. If you open it, you will see where you came from. Based on the quality of your clothes and the colors, not my own. He said it with a small frown. A different world? You are not from Earth. She wondered. I am from Earth, but I can't reach it right now. Currently, I am living in a different world, a medieval one. The boy explained. Oh, so you won't be really able to help us? She muttered, downcast. What kind of trouble are you in? Based on the name floating above your head, I have a hard time believing you are on Earth yourself right now, Lisbeth. I am Harry, by the way. Harry Potter, nice to meet you. The boy, Harry, said while pointing above her. It's horrible. I and thousands of other people are trapped in a video game right now. Akihiko Kaiba trapped us in his game. If anyone tries to take off our nerve gear helmets, we'll die. She cried out. Harry put a hand on her shoulder and said, calm down. You are still alive. In such a situation, giving up is the worst thing to do. But based on what you are saying, I don't believe we are coming from the same Earth. A lot more time has passed since my departure. Based on your description, these nerve gears sound like a very advanced version of personal computers that are using the internet and were recently released. What year was it for you when you left Earth? And how did you leave it? She asked, the feeling of his hand somehow giving her strength. It's been about a year. It was 1996 when I fell through a portal and luckily came out of another world. Usually people end up dead in that portal. Harry replied. Oh, it's 2022 on my Earth. Lisbeth replied. Interesting. I would love to get my hands on modern technology, but it seems my wish won't be fulfilled since you are trapped inside a video game and are currently a game character. He said, pointing at the floating above her head, fascinating. What if I could die anytime or starve if I don't go out to slay monsters and earn some money? Lisbeth asked now, angered. No, the fact that you are standing in a different world with a character that is supposed to be a programmed mass of electric signals in a simulated world. Somehow, your video game is a real world. Let's try something. Try to go through the door behind me. He replied, unaffected by her anger. He opened the door, revealing a similar stony corridor, and gestured for her to go through. She leaned forward, trying to peek outside. Suddenly, there was a crackling wall of hard light in front of her, causing her forehead to thud against it. Warning! You are about to leave Incrad, are you sure you wish to do this? By doing so, your original body will be killed. You will be locked into this form, and you will be unable to return to Incrad. Leave Incrad? Yes or no? Kill her? Hey, locked to this form? It seems like there is a way out for you guys. Harry said, reading over her shoulder. He is right, it sounded like she could leave her old life behind and start anew in a different world. Before she could contemplate leaping from her old life, Harry had closed the door, and the notification that didn't look like it from her Sword Art Online HUD had disappeared. She shook her head, leaving the tufts behind. Did she really want to live in a medieval world without the advantages of modern appliances? In Incrad, she at least could hide in the first city before braver players finished the game. But in his world, she would have to handle a medieval society. Now that we have tried that, Lisbeth, what can I do for you? Harry asked, his beautiful emerald eyes watching her. She was still distracted by the sheer existence of this shop or the simple fact of her current situation. Death was now always a possibility for her. Lisbeth? Are you okay? Lisbeth flinched before blinking and looking around. Yeah, I'm fine. You sure? I know for certain that I wouldn't be fine if I were trapped in a game. Lisbeth paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. I don't know. Do you want to talk about it? Harry asked quietly. I shouldn't bother you with my problems. The girl whispers, looking away in guilt. The two were silent as the exchange reached a dead end before Lisbeth decided to change the topic. So. You said this is a store? What are you selling? Oh, a few things. I am not sure how much worth they have for you since the technological level I have available is medium plus a bit of magic. But pretty much like weapons or armor. I also have skill essences that can grant you some knowledge, though I am unsure of how they interact with your game. Then there are some survival essentials like flint and steel, a fire starter kit, some tents, and warm clothes. Maybe something to eat. While I can't compare to the quality of modern Japan, I have some nice foods like fresh pies or other dishes all ready to sell. Where is the food? Do you have something sweet? Lisbeth whispers. I store it especially so it remains fresh. Harry said as a piece of honey bread appeared on a plate in front of him. Honey bread. A freshly baked honey bread. Reduced hunger by 20. Increases all stats by 1 for 10 minutes. How much? What kind of currency are you using in your game? He asked. It's called COR. She said, summoning 1 copper coin in her hands. I see, they are slightly lighter than the currency we are using. Harry said as he observed the coin in her hands, it's 5 COR. It was 5 times the cost of a loaf of bread in the shop, but it was sweet. All that she could get in the starting village was bread and water. And the honey bread had even a stat bonus that she could use to kill the boars more easily to make it back. If there were enough of them, she could kill even more of them. The effect lasted 10 minutes. Okay. She slowly nods. How much for that fire starter kit? 40 COR for the fire starter kit. Fire starter kit. A primitive fire starter kit is an essential consumable for any hunter, allowing them to start a fire. It consists of a piece of flint and steel. It does not work when wet. 100/100 charges. That could be useful. She just needed to kill 2 boars for it. But she already had enough. The starter package consisted of a weapon and 100 COR. She could afford it. A camp probably even gave buffs. I will take it. How much for a weapon? Can I take a look at it? She asked. Depends on the weapon. My swords start around 7,000 COR. Harry replied calmly as he handed her one of the steel swords. Skagosi steel sword. A sword made by the best smith on Skagos. Durability 85/85. Attributes. Attack plus 30. Requirements. STR, 10. VIT, 5. AGI, 5. Dex, 8. That's out of my price range right now. Even tough, the weapon itself is amazing. She said as she read through the weapon description, it will be floors before we drop anything like it. Too bad, can you even equip it right now? He asked. No, I will have to level up a few times too. Well, come back in the future. I am sure we can come to a different agreement than just money. A different agreement? Is he a pervert? Not like that. He said quickly, I mean, you can promise me to get me an item from your game in the future. Do you have any idea, ignoring the whole death part, in what kind of broken position you are right now? She shook her head. You are in a game and can bring items from it into reality. Do you have any idea what there could be on higher floors, Lisbeth? Oh. Lisbeth replied, realizing what he was saying. So, absolutely come back once you are strong enough, and we will find a great agreement. Be it some mythical or, an amazing plant, or something similar, I am interested in it all. Harry promised. All right, Harry. I will keep it in mind. I'll be back soon. She nodded, storing her new consumables in her inventory. Stay safe. He calls out as she opens the door and returns to Incrad. Well. That was shocking. Honestly, she has been faced with so much traumatic *T in the past 24 hours that she has looped back around to being completely and totally calm. Maybe it's the fact that she now has access to easy buffs for cheap. Or maybe it's the fact that if she gets tired of this, she could leave it all behind, go into the shop, and start a new life elsewhere. Would she keep the strength of her character? That's more than enough of a reason to try and get to as high a level as possible before she gives up. An extra skill has been acquired. Dimensional Wayfinder, 1/1000. Points you in the general direction of the nearest door to the Dimensional Trader. Hey! How is he even influencing the SOW system? Chapter 26. Harry Potter POV. That didn't level the Interdimensional Trader skill up, too bad. He thought that Lisbeth had left the store. Well, it would have been fast if every trade leveled the skill up, and even though he connected to a second world, the trade wasn't as valuable as learning the ancient language. But Incrad, the game world of Sword Art Online, had a ton of potential to grant him some really valuable goods. It took him a bit to remember who she was, with her brown hair. In the anime, she had colored her hair pink. That was the blacksmith girl. And most importantly, he somehow managed to gain a good level of affection for her on our first meeting. By comforting and giving Lisbeth hope, the player reached the loved affection level. He would take it. Having contact with a blacksmith with a game system was valuable, he had no problem equipping her with some good weapons for cheap with that future potential. She would give him a lot in return, without a doubt. Unfortunately, she was still a bit too early in the game to even equip the lightest of his swords. You should have entered that world and checked whether you could use magic there. Tiamat said to his mind. Being his bonded family gave her access to parts of his system, including his codex, that contained all his knowledge. Part of the knowledge was anything he had watched, like movies and anime. The little winged lizard got instantly hooked on them. Who are you calling a winged lizard? She complained. Just joking. He also forgot to make her check the skill essences. Jura the Green Elgenary added. She was right, he had totally forgotten it. He had been distracted by all the items and fictional goods he could gain through Lisbeth's access to his story. It doesn't matter. The girl will return. Miremel interrupted, now that the distraction from our training session is gone, it's time to continue. We were talking about how to use energy from your surroundings. You will need to finish your training to beat Galbatorix. One of the most useful techniques he could learn right now. A way to lessen the burden on his own mana reserves. Miremel was the most dedicated to killing Galbatorix, while Jura's rider had been killed by one of the Forsworn, hers had been killed by Galbatorix himself. She had been there. POV. A petite gold-brown-haired girl observed a brown-haired girl from behind some bushes, her brown eyes closely watching the fire in front of the girl. A camp? She actually created a camp? How? Did the game change from the beta? The earliest form of fire starter was available on the 3rd floor with the large multi-floor elf war quest. Campfires were one of the earliest and easiest accessible forms of transportable crafting stations, they also gave decent buffs. At a camp, players could get additional health regeneration. It also lowered the speed of their hunger and thirst. Plus, it could be used as a crafting station for simple chef recipes with a skill mastery requirement of 30 or less, like grilled vegetables and kebabs. Until the early stages of the 2nd floor, there wouldn't be any proper chef crafting station, and even so, it would be overcrowded because people wanted to see the first crafting profession and grind it to a higher level. A similar situation happened in the beta, and there were far fewer players. The same goes with smithing and tailoring. And here she was, watching a girl that made a campfire. How the hell did this girl manage it? The first day isn't even over yet. She held out her hands, creating a box with her fingers. Click tzzzz. She took a snapshot of the girl. There was one person who needed to see this, the only person who possibly knew the game better than her. Opening chat. November 6, 2022. Argo 2016, explain, Kiribu. Attached image. For a long moment, nothing happened, until a double check mark appeared behind the message. Kirito 2033, what the hell? Is that a campfire? Argo 2033, it sure is. Her eyes widened before she took another snapshot. Argo 2034, okay. How? Attached image. Kirito 2034, that doesn't look like the bread and water available in the town of beginnings right now. Are these meat rations? I don't believe it's possible to get them before the 2nd floor. They are one of the earliest regeneration consumables. Argo 2034, it sure looks like it. 1 HP regeneration per minute. Kirito 2035, you have to learn how she got them. It could save our lives if her method could get us more advanced items early. Argo 2035, done so, Kibu. I'll be on the lookout from now on. Get me an anil dagger, and we'll call it evens. Yes. I know what you are doing. Who was the one to discover that quest, after all? You should be able to run it twice before anyone else gets there, once to get their only sword and once for the dagger. Normally I'd do it myself, but, you know, I've got bigger fish to fry. Kirito 2036, fine. Closing the chat, she realized that she wouldn't get any sleep tonight. She needed to watch the girl like a hawk. Damn. The gold brown-haired girl peered around the corner of an alley her target had just entered. It's a dead end. What was she doing here? She yawned and rubbed the dark circles below her eyes, her stealthy skill ensured that she remained undetectable. Her target held up a hand, a small holographic compass appearing above it. What kind of skill is that? She watched the brown-haired girl use that strange, almost magic-looking skill to approach a wall. Quickly, she took a snapshot as she watched the girl pull something, and the wall peeled back only to reveal a wooden door. A secret shop. She quickly rushed forward, making sure not to let the door out of her eyes as the brown-haired girl opened it and walked inside. The door closes behind her, the brick wall seemingly enclosing back around the door, hiding it from view, but she had remembered the location. Quickly, she approached the location to see whether she could find something out of place, as long as the girl was inside. On first glance, it seemed like a normal brick wall, nothing special about it until she touched something that she couldn't see. Something metallic and round. A doorknob. There really was an invincible door here. And she could open it. Before she could return to her hiding spot in order to wait for the brown-haired girl to leave the shop, the bricks once again peeled aside and revealed the door. For a moment, she could see a raven painted onto the front of the heavy wooden door before it moved back, revealing the inside of a store. There was that brown-haired girl holding the door open while saying, "Sure, we can try to see if you can enter here." Besides, there was an unfamiliar person. Didn't elves appear on the third floor first? She was looking into the greenest eyes she had ever seen. They belonged to an otherworldly and ethereal-looking boy who clearly had elvish features with his slightly almond-shaped eyes and slightly pointy ears. He also had the wildest black hair she had ever seen. And he was looking right at her with these mesmerizing emerald orbs. Suddenly she heard a male but melodious voice say, "Oh, it seems you already brought me a new customer, Lisbeth." She must have followed me. Probably because of the campfire. It isn't supposed to exist on this floor. I really have to thank you, Regeneration Buff, for making hunting easier. The brown-haired girl called Lisbeth said. No problem. Most people probably didn't even realize that the campfire was strange. That game must have had a beta test. There is no way they could sell such a technology as the nerve gear without one. Maybe she is a participant in it. The black-haired boy said. Isn't he a shop NPC? How is he breaking the fourth wall? Besides him, she couldn't see anyone else in the shop. There was no way a player already owned property. They must have noticed the astonished look on her face. Don't worry too much about it. I will explain it in a moment. Argo. He said this while looking at the name floating above her for a moment. Wait, he didn't have the name above his head. Sorry, can you step out of the doorframe for a moment? We wanted to try whether I could enter this world. This world? It was too confusing without an explanation. Argo moved out of the way and watched how the boy stepped out of the door into the alley. For a moment, he stopped right at the step, but then he was out in the alley. A text appeared above his head. Harry Potter, LV 36. Chapter 27. Different world laws were detected. Do you wish to temporarily adapt to the Incrad? Yes or no? Since it was only temporary, he accepted. After accepting, Harry passed through the glowing barrier that had formed on his doorstep, right under the watchful gaze of the two Sword Art Online players. He entered Incrad without any further trouble. A short look above him revealed something floating above him. Harry Potter, LV 36. Hey, my level is halved. He noticed, and then a notification appeared in front of him. You are currently operating under the world laws of Incrad and have entered the SAO compatibility mode. Mental and charismatic statistics are not relevant for the world system but still affect you. Your public level has been translated to a fitting state for Incrad. Any form of magic is sealed until you leave this world. Any skills you pick up in this world system will be supported and adapted to your own system. You can gain experience and grind your skills as always. The compatibility mode will run under the same rules as this world system. Any skill of SAO origin has to be equipped in skill slots and follows the same rule as the game even outside of the game. Okay, that's nice. So no magic, but my swordsmanship is still a thing. Since I can get their skills, it doesn't hurt to pick some up. There is supposed to be an unlimited amount of them, the artificial intelligence of the game creates new ones when needed. He mused as he read through the information. Bersangr. He said, and nothing happened, Lumos. Yep, magic is out of the question. Status. Name, Harry J. Potter. Class, the gamer. Gender, male. Level, 72 SAO level, 36. Next level, 67.2%. Title, The Boy Who Lived. Age, 16. Species, elf/human, magical/dragon rider. HP, 550 MP, 4158. Strength, 56, 47. Vitality, 54, 45. Intelligence, 250. Wisdom, 100. Dexterity, 57, 48. Charisma, 60, 50. Luck, 10. Points, 20. Empty SAO skill slots, 6. It seems like I can help you guys more actively. I can't wait for the boss fight. By the way, how do I get more skill slots? Harry asked after he saw the new entry on his status screen. Both of them looked a bit dumbfounded at his current level, with them being only levels 2 and 3 right now. It was still the first day of Sword Art Online. By leveling up. As far as I am aware, you start with 2 and get a third at level 6, a fourth at 12, another one and a fifth one at 20, after that, I have no idea. The furthest anyone got in the beta was to floor 10, and no one unlocked a 6th slot. Argo replied, having regained her wits. I have 6. My guess would be around level 30. So you were in beta. Perfect, you will be able to provide us with more information. Harry said it with a pleased nod. She would be able to tell them more about the system and how to exploit the shit out of this game. Just what is going on? Who are you? What do you mean by different worlds? Argo asked in confusion. Let's go back into the shop. I am the owner of the Dimensional Trader. This store. Harry said as he entered back into the store and waved his hand. Lucky Lisbeth, over there, has managed to find a connection to my store, which is connected to different worlds. Different worlds? So I am no longer in the game right now? Won't it melt my brain out there? Argo asked in shock. Close the door, Lisbeth. Harry said as he watched Argo receive the same notification as Lisbeth had before. No, this will only happen if you leave through any door in this store to another world than your own. If you do, you will get bound to your avatar more or less, and you can do whatever you want without Incrad's system, I think. I'm not sure about that. Lisbeth is my first customer in Incrad, and I don't want to push anyone to try it. Oh? So I can run away from SA right this second if I want to. You could, I wouldn't recommend it, though. Harry shrugged. First of all, your current bodies are seriously underrated for even Japan. I have a system similar to SAO's by myself and can tell the strength of people. Technically, you are currently weaker than children, it's just that because the world you are currently inhabiting is a game world, you won't feel the level. And my level isn't the true representation of my strength. I have several more statistics that aren't getting considered in SAO's system and other limitations, effectively having my level. Okay, what level would the people of your world be? Argo asked. Teenagers are above level 10. Average adults are around levels 20-30. Stronger ones may even surpass the 50s in SAO's system. Your statistics are a bit hard to translate from 1 to 1. But that applies only if you compare statistics. What you have to include in your calculations are skills too. From level 30 on with skills, I would guess you can be considered superhuman in strength. But this is only based on my estimations. Harry explained that, after all, normal humans don't have skills that make them stronger. So you are superhuman in strength. She pointed it out. Yes, but only barely physically. I am restricted in SAO because the world itself doesn't permit magic. My build is focusing on magic, so I am a lot weaker. He said, while summoning a small flame at the tip of his finger, that back in his store he could use magic again. Hey, magic is out of the question, then. Too bad. It would have been so useful. What are the other reasons why I shouldn't leave SAO right now? Argo asked, remembering that it had been only the first point. Oh, it all has to do with your current strength. There are so many things a game system can grant you, including useful skills in combat and crafting. High-level items that you could bring into the real world, and so on. And I am not living on Earth right now. In truth, your game is the closest connection to an Earth I have gained yet. I am currently stranded in a medieval world, where I became a lord and have many comforts most people don't. I would love to have more modern appliances. Any world you could leave to right now wouldn't be safer than Incrad. But we could benefit from each other. Harry stated it factually. How so? Argo asked while Lisbeth was also listening in interest. As far as I understood from Lisbeth, there are right now around 10,000 people trapped in this death game. For me, every last one of them is a potential customer, but I have no interest in granting everyone access to my store. There are many different characters. You too could become intermediaries for my shop. Lisbeth mentioned that food grants buffs, my weapons and armors are a few levels advanced, and so on. Everything that could save many lives right now if we play our cards right and allow us to profit. Harry said before pointing at Argo, and that's where your knowledge from the beta comes into play. How can we exploit the fact that I can get things that are not yet available to you? I like how you think, Harry. Argo's eyes glimmered as she pulled out a pen and paper, while Lisbeth just watched the exchange. What you got available? Remember that the current technological level of my world is medieval. Food's nothing industrial, but I have access to grains, vegetables, different fruits, fish, meats, milk, eggs, and similar. I am still a bit away from having any active trade, so my access to anything more luxurious is limited. There are weapons, armor, tools, primitive consumables, and raw materials like wood, stone, and ore. Harry counted. Argo's eyes widened. Do you have an anvil, medical kits, sewing kits, fishing rods, or something similar? Some of them. I am not sure whether the medical supplies my people use count as medical kits. Anvil is easy. I even have a surplus of ore that I can easily grant you for the right price. Sewing kits and fishing rods too, though there are some rather primitive versions of them. Although I get most of it, why fish? Harry asked as he thought about the items he could bring in. Based on the information I have, fishing is a floor 20 activity. It brings additional items, experiences, secret enemies, alchemy ingredients, and so on. With your help, we can jumpstart all the crafting professions early. She said it with excitement. Hey, floor 20 items early. That's broken. Harry nodded before looking at Lisbeth. Lisbeth interested in becoming a blacksmith? I will sponsor you. You can save a ton of lives. Sorry for assuming, but you don't look like the front combat type. I would love to try that. I was already planning to go the blacksmith route in the game, if it were a normal one. The brown-haired girl said it toughly. Perfect. Argo said, I will make sure to get the customers. Harry, we will need an anvil and a hammer to unlock the skill. If you somehow can get us a furnace, even better. There are a ton of skills that need to be leveled up for smithing. By the way, do you have bows and arrows? Sure, I can get you even a furnace. I also have some bows and arrows there. Try it. Harry said as he pointed at a wall. Oh, I already see that this will be a very profitable transaction. Argo grinned. Chapter 28. In the end, they came to a few different agreements. While he wouldn't have many short-term benefits from it, Harry would gain a few mid-term and a lot of long-term advantages. While he would sponsor the head start of different occupations early, he would receive a part of the monetary profit based on how much he could sponsor, but most importantly, he would gain one crafted item from every 10 floors, starting with floor 10. The most important occupation for him was blacksmithing, which Lisbeth decided would become her part. After all, according to the information, the ore he was producing for free with his inferi was good enough to last beyond floor 20, according to Argo's estimates. After that, her best guess was that they would need fantasy ores. For the other occupations, the limited resources that he had access to by not being in a more advanced and connected world were only enough for them to start early. Maybe till floors 5-10. He will also sell the more advanced weapons and armor he has right now to them on store credit. They would pay him back as soon as they could. Now we will just need to find a safe place where we can set up a store for you, Lisbeth. Argo muttered as they worked their deal out. I believe I've just gained a solution for that too. Harry muttered as he was focusing on the notification he had just received. Interdimensional Trader has leveled up to level 4. Interdimensional Trader, active/passive, LV4, a skill received through the essence of the Interdimensional Trader, allowing the user to turn a building in his possession into an interdimensional store, connecting it to the multiverse. Sub-skills. Create Store, active creates a dimensional store in an owned building, 1/1. Appraise, active the ability to appraise objects for their value and relevant trading information. Close/open store, active the ability to lock and open the door. Create temporary door, active this creates a temporary door at your location that you can return to from your store. Once you create another one, the old one will be replaced. Cast time, 10 minutes. Add room, active the ability to add new rooms to your store. It needs to be attached to your main store room. 0/1. This skill gets leveled through sales. More expensive sales grant more experience. I'm able to expand the store and add new rooms to it. At least one for now. Like I already mentioned, I have a game system like yours, and one of my skills is this store. And it just leveled up as we finished the deal. Harry explained quickly, so, Lisbeth, if you want, I will be able to make a room for you to work in. If you want, we can add a sleeping corner, but it will need to be part of the same room since you can't leave the store. That's great. Lisbeth said, excited, before adding with a blush, I would like that. What do you want for rent? If it's fine for you, I would like you to produce some common steel weapons and armor with material I provide you in exchange. Of course, once your level is high enough, the ability to do something in less than a minute through a skill is just too broken. Sooner or later, I will have to equip an army for my territory, and such high-grade equipment would give them a massive advantage. Harry explained, as he thought of something else. Yes, I am fine with that. Lisbeth nodded eagerly. You are already doing so much for us. Okay, now that we are through with that, we should head out, Lisbeth. Argo said he was a bit rushed now. Where to? Lisbeth asked, confused. We should get a head start and rush to the next town. You will need to level up to fulfill the stat requirements to unlock and level the skills. But the resources we can get around the town of beginnings will soon be depleted. With more players present, it will be harder for us to level up. And the majority will remain around the town. Argo explained seriously, as she had been too distracted by the store. Let's form a party and level together. There is something I just thought I wanted to try out. Harry said, I'm almost ready, just a moment. Suddenly the door and a red-headed girl burst in as she was chased by something. Oi, tell your lizard to stop chasing me! Shouted Ygritte, irritated. Hello, Ygritte. Her name is Tiamat, and I told her she should get you. He recently expanded the tunnel system below his future castle, connecting it with the ground level. He even moved some people to it, so he always had someone ready to send out for errands, among them the red-haired wildling girl, Angry Cherry, and, Ygritte. Why Ygritte? Was it so strange that he preferred to be surrounded by beautiful girls? He was a lord. And a 16-year-old boy who had a mental illness that, for some reason, didn't work on his puberty. Good that you are here. These are Lisbeth and Argo, some new allies. He said, pointing at the two girls staring at Ygritte and Tiamat. The Angry Cherry here is Ygritte. One of my people. And this little troublemaker is my beloved partner and dragon, Tiamat. You have a dragon? Argo asked as she watched Tiamat, who had landed on his shoulder. Yep, the best one. Harry said as he scratched Tiamat below her chin. Remember that, little humans. Tiamat added. Good, the mental link works while inside the store. Harry nodded before realizing that they didn't know what he was talking about. Tiamat can only communicate through a form of mental magic. We just confirmed that it works with you outside of Incrad. What's Incrad? And who are they? Sauron ladies. Ygritte asked as she watched the two girls with suspicion. Incrad is the world from which they come. Let's just say a different land where we will be going to try something out. They are two people trapped in that world and can die if a monster kills them. Harry said, as he had no idea how to explain the concept of a different world to Ygritte. If something kills you, then you will die? Isn't that like normal? Ygritte asked, confused. Yes, but this world was supposed to be a dream for them where they don't die. But an evil sorcerer trapped them inside. And that world is filled with monsters. Harry sighed before turning to Argo and asking, can you please open the door for us? As soon as Harry stepped out of the store, his name and SAO level once again appeared above his head. The same happened to Ygritte and Tiamat. Ygritte, LV 14. Tiamat, LV 5. What's that? Ygritte asked, confused, as she watched the names floating above them. Your name and a number representing your strength. Harry replied. I can't read that. Yeah, it's in English. The essence I gave you only taught you the Westerosi common tongue, which is coincidentally like English but written differently. Harry sighed. Try to swing your right hand downwards while extending your middle and index fingers. Ygritte performed the motion. Is there something supposed to happen? I had hoped you would be recognized by SAO's system as a player. This is a world where you can get stronger by killing other things. He explained, stronger than a normal human. I hope to exploit this chance by leveling up some of my people. They are far more accustomed to the threat of death than these players from a modern world. But it can't be helped if it doesn't work. It's not like I can give them my compatibility mode. Suddenly he had an inspiration: invite Ygritte and Tiamat to my party. Ygritte has joined your party. Tiamat has joined your party. Now try again. Harry said it eagerly. Oh, it works. I can read it now. The red-headed wildling said, as she tested out the different options on the menu that had appeared in her vision. Nice, but still too bad. He sighed. I had hoped I could use it to train more people at once. What's the max size of a SAO party? 6 people. Argo answered, as she understood what he had tried. And I need to be with them. Yeah, this is no good. Harry sighed. Let's focus on leveling, since it doesn't seem that you can hear Tiamat either. Her magic seems to be also suppressed by the world rules. Invite Argo and Lisbeth to party. You can still hear me fine. The Night Blue Dragoness complained. It's because of our special bond. ID, create in Fury. Harry said as the skill activated like normal and the world around them changed a bit. They were still in the alley, but the atmosphere was different. On one end appeared a shape. Infurious, LV4. I will see if you get experience by killing it. Try to use your bows. Harry said as he stood between them and the Infurious. All 3 girls pulled out their bows and began attacking it with them, while Harry easily kept it at a distance. It works. We are getting experience, COR. They even dropped something. You, Infurious flesh. Lisbeth said it with disgust on her face. Wait, they are dropping something. Harry wondered. Yeah, look into the party inventory. It turns out they had a shared party inventory where all drops were gathered. And unlike his own system, the SAO system was recognizing these Inferi as monsters and generating items for them. This is perfect. I can create instances up to level 40. Unfortunately, this is the highest skill I have, because this skill is only able to create instances with creatures that I have encountered in some form that are instinctively recognized by me as monsters. Harry explained, hopefully Incrad will give me higher level ones. Because leveling with my own system has become very slow. So you can create instances with us, and we will never run out of saved experiences. Argo asked. Yep, how does the experience distribution work in SAO? Harry asked. It's based on the damage dealt and tanked. Argo replied. Okay, I will keep them busy and tank while you attack them. Harry nodded. Let's go, it's time for power leveling. Chapter 29. One-handed sword, SAO skill, LV 67/1000, sword skills. Horizontal, slant, vertical, and uppercut, one-hit skill, causing 50% more damage. Mods. Shorten sword skill cooldown time. Increase sword skill damage. Increase critical hit chance. Increase critical hit damage. Increase armor piercing damage. SAO skills were a decent method to strengthen his swordsmanship, giving it an edge over other people. These skills were a bit different from his regular skills, they were split into 2 parts. First of all, there were the so-called sword skills, which were more powerful special moves, giving bonus damage or some effect in comparison to normal sword techniques. The second part was the mods, which made the sword skills themselves stronger. These sword skills amplify the base damage output, which is based on the player's stats and equipment. The best part about them is the fact that they stacked with his mastery and other skills. Unfortunately, they had the disadvantage of being a predictable, pre-programmed move. They had to be used with caution. And then there was the other problem, these skills were bound to skill slots, even though he had only a limited amount available. Sure, he would get more as he leveled up, but at some point, SAO's system would introduce a level cap. Simply put, it is impossible for him to get all the useful skills. These very same systems could generate an infinite amount of them based on the player's needs. Harry would need to focus on some of them. It's the big question, what made most sense for him? The combat skills were all weapon and martial arts related, which he was picking up, but only as a secondary fighting style. Just in case someone survives his other abilities. Having special moves was useful to overpower the enemy, but that's it. On the other hand, there was the possibility of pursuing the different crafts. Crafting methods for video games were simply so broken. And they would also stack with his own skills. Crafting Mastery, Novice, Active/Passive, LV 89, you are a complete beginner in all crafts. Your understanding of creating things is superficial. The success rate for all crafts rose by 8.9%. 0.89% chance to create an object of higher quality. Known recipes, 73. Sub-skills. Craft, active create something out of the required items based on the recipe. Just what made the most sense. He supposed it didn't hurt to pick up 2 or 3 combat-related skills. While other skills were completely useless to him, like hiding, for example, they worked in a special manner that didn't stack with his invisibility cloak or other spells. With 2 or 3 combat skills, he would still have enough slots for crafting. And the SOW system would generate new skills based on the player's needs, which would also apply if he introduced objects from other worlds. The big question was what made the most sense. Lisbeth would be focusing on smithing, the problem was that she would one day leave SOW, and he had no idea whether she would choose to take her avatar as her body. Smithing was also the base of so many more advanced crafting possibilities, and many worlds used swords. Swords are trending. Right now, she is out with Argo and Ygritte. He had helped them get a head start by letting them kill higher level monsters. But now they were playing the game normally. Their goal is to get Lisbeth to level 12 for all skill slots and stats. It turns out the SOW system remained with Ygritte even if he left the party. So she chose to join them on their grind of the first floor. She had enjoyed seeing a different world. Harry had returned because the first floor wasn't doing much for him. It would take time until they discovered the first boss room to get onto the next. If he remembers right, it had taken about 1 month in the anime. You will need more people that you can trust. If you plan to build a powerful kingdom, you can't do everything by yourself. Jura the Green Elgenary and his main teacher in magic brought him out of his thoughts. While she was an expert in magic, her rider was formerly one of the foremost researchers and experts of magic in the Dragon Riders, and the other 2 Elgener gave him a lot of knowledge too. Miremel's knowledge of magic was less expansive, but she could still add a few things here and there. But where she stood out was teaching him about warfare and combat. Valdr, the oldest of all the free Elgener, gave him a completely different type of knowledge. His wisdom and experience were stunning. While he often communicated through mental images, he knew a lot about the secrets and science of the world. He had granted Harry a lot of insights on how to use secrets with the science world more creatively. You think I don't know that? He sighed as he sent the mental reply, I am well aware of the fact. But neither Skagosi nor the wildlings have a high literacy rate. While they are good at survival and combat, they lack the skills to build a strong society. The only real advantage over other lords and kingdoms is my magic and the power of my inferi. Your corpse puppets are indeed powerful. Miremel agreed, but they will leave a bad opinion about you with your people. You should limit their use, or your people will see you as evil, which will be bad for your land. Their deaths are important for most people. I know. I am planning to make it a punishment for the worst criminals. To scare people off the worst crimes. It was never my intention to become an evil Dark Lord or a tyrant. But I have no scruple in doing what it takes to protect my own life and make it comfortable. Harry replied. We know that now. But only after you showed us the exact process by which inferi are created. But shouldn't it be possible to create golems with a similar process? Jura pointed this out. It may. Harry got interrupted from his thoughts as the door to his store opened loudly. From outside the store, he could hear loud shouts and chaos. Where is he? Find him. In the sewers. That direction, sir. It sounded like people were searching for someone. And as soon as Harry saw the details of the man that stood in his doorframe, he knew why. He had a dark complexion and a tall, muscular body. His hair is shaved close on the back and sides, leaving a silver-colored crown on top. Standing out were the red iris of his eyes. But the most eye-catching feature was the X-shaped scar that marred the top half of his face. Hidden below his sleeve, on his right arm, was a thin scar stretching entirely around the limb where the bicep meets the shoulder, and, from that mark all the way down to the wrist, it was nearly covered with a complex tattoo. Harry could feel that this tattoo wasn't ordinary. Addressing the clearly out-of-breath man, Harry said, if you close the door, it will disappear like before, and the soldiers chasing you won't be able to find it, Scar. For a moment, Scar stared intently at him and followed his suggestion, closing the door, before asking in a deep voice, who are you? I am a humble store owner. Harry replied with a grin. A store owner who knows who I am and yet gives me a feeling of danger. Scar scoffed. True. I own this store that connects to different worlds. Right now you technically are no longer in Ames Tries but a threshold in between worlds. Harry explained. Worlds? Who are you kidding? A small flame and then a light appeared in Harry's hands, while Scar took a combative stand. Next, Harry pointed at a chair standing in a corner, turning it into a cat. See magic, not alchemy. Or which alchemy is able to turn an unliving thing into a living one? Scar stared at the cat in shock before asking, why have you brought me here, magician? I didn't. It's not in my control to determine who finds an entrance to my store. Fate, or maybe God, has brought you to my store. Who knows? So which state alchemist did you kill for them to chase you so hard? Harry asked with a smirk. No one. At least I didn't succeed this time. He muttered. Oh, did you fight the Full Metal Alchemist right now? Harry realized that, while he didn't remember everything about the manga, it had been such a long time since he read it that he knew the rough details. You know them. Harry looked at him for a moment, weighing his words before replying, I know about them the same way as I know about you. And most importantly, they are not your enemies. They are sinners, they have started this circle of hatred. It will only end if one side is completely destroyed. Scar gritted out, now anger swelling in him. No, they didn't. The real orchestrator of all this hasn't revealed himself yet. But if I had to declare a point when everything began, I would say 400 years ago in Xerxes. 400 years ago? In Xerxes? Are you mad? How is the disappearance of that kingdom related to the massacre of my people? Harry turned the cat back into a chair and levitated it in front of Scar. Take a seat. This will take a while. But basically, the one responsible for the destruction of Xerxes wants to do the same in Ames Tries. Ishval was just beginning to repeat that feat. Let me tell you about the dwarf in the flask. Scar looked at him in shock and sat down as Harry began to retell what he remembered from Full Metal Alchemist. Everything began with the ambition of Xerxes' king for immortality. He instructed his alchemist to find a way to become immortal. One of the results of these researches was known as the dwarf in the flask, a homunculus that had once existed in the gate. The dwarf in the flask needed his flask to survive. Now that he interacted directly with humans, he felt like he was imprisoned and grew jealous of humans. But he befriended a slave boy in Xerxes, called Slave 23, because of their similar circumstances, which he could relate to. He began to educate the slave boy with the vast knowledge he had gained at the gate, and the slave became his hand and feet, basically his caretaker. In reality, the king of Xerxes wished to use the homunculus to learn the secrets of immortality. And this was a fact that the dwarf abused, deceiving the king and instructing him to create a massive nationwide transmutation circle. That circle required bloodshed in specific locations. And it would sacrifice the people inside that circle to grant the people in the center a philosopher's stone, effectively making them immortal. Obviously, it wasn't the king and his people standing in the true center of the circle, but the homunculus and Slave 23. Granting each of them half of the souls of all the people of Xerxes effectively created the first philosopher's stone. That's so Ishval is just the beginning. Just one of the bloodsheds to activate the circle. Scar asked in shock, the target is to sacrifice all of Ames Tries. Exactly, the goal of the dwarf in the bottle had always been to leave the bottle. After Xerxes, his bottle had just become bigger. He is planning to sacrifice the people of Ames Tries, a country over 50 times bigger than Xerxes, to become God free of all rules. Harry stated, right now he is in Central City, right in the center of that even bigger circle. He is the source of power in all Amestrian alchemy, so nobody can use it against them. Very few humans are aware of the homunculus's existence. He is no longer the only one, he created something akin to children, who are manipulating events from the shadows. Is the military aware of this? Scar asked. The top, of course. King Bradley is a homunculus, one of the children. While the other leadership is the same as Xerxes' king, believing that they would gain alchemy, most state alchemists and soldiers have no idea of the truth and are just pawns. Harry replied. Scar was silent for a long moment before asking, what happened to Slave 23? The dwarf had given him a name back then, you may have heard of him. It's Van Hohenheim. While the dwarf went west to Ames Tries, Hohenheim went east and became known as the Sage of the West in Seeing. He created the basis for that arm of yours, alchemy, with the alchemy he learned in his youth. Harry said before grinning, a few years ago, he even returned to Ames Tries and began working against the plans of the dwarf in the flask. An hour ago, you tried to kill his sons. Wait, Edward Elric is the son of this Van Hohenheim. Does he know the truth? Scar asked. Yes, but he doesn't know the full truth. Van Hohenheim has been absent most of their lives. They don't even know yet what a Philosopher's Stone is or that their father has one. The only reason he joined the military was to find a way to restore his brother's body. Harry replied calmly. Silence was what followed. Until finally Scar spoke up, why have you told me all of this? What do you want of me? I simply ask for your help. I have recently acquired my own land. I would like to invite the survivors of your people to live in them and help build them up. They won't be persecuted there, I swear. We can even form a contract. My contracts are special and bound by the universe itself, nobody can break them. Not even me. Harry said, also, I want to stop the homunculus. And for that, I will need help. Neither of us can fight the dwarf alone. He is too powerful. Chapter 30. I can smell you. Your Ishvalian blood smells, a voice spoke as it appeared at the end of a severe tunnel. It belonged to a small, fat man. He had a bald head and didn't look very intelligent as he grinned dumbly. Another voice appeared from around the corner, good job, Gluttony. You found our serial killer. It sounded female and teasing as a beautiful, pale-skinned, curvy woman with black hair stepped into view. Scar looked at them unimpressed. You were right, they really didn't come after me. Is the one you told me of with you? Who is he talking to? Gluttony asked in confusion, holding a finger to his face. Petrificus totalis. Petrificus totalis. Two green flashes hit the two as they landed on the floor. About me, Gluttony. I have to say you look quite sexy, Lust. No, Scar, the one who started the civil war isn't here. He is called Envy, Harry said as he appeared from under his invisible cloak behind them. Who are you? How do you know of us? Lust gritted out from the floor. What did you do to us? You would like to know that, wouldn't you? Harry said calmly as he stared at the two homunculi on the floor. It seems I will need the help of the three of you. You do realize that Gluttony isn't pretending to be paralyzed. No problem, we will lend you our energy. The voice of Jura replied in his head. Be careful, they are not weak. Too bad. Lust said as she stood up and said in a teasing voice, so do you want to tell me the truth yourself, cutie? Or do I have to become a bit more harsh with you? Oh, I would love to play with you a bit. But unfortunately, it would become quite painful for me, homunculus. Harry smirked as a sword appeared in his hand. They do feel really strange. It was as if they had thousands of weak algenery with them, but none of them worked together. All suppressed, the voice of Viladra spoke on a rare occasion. Take care of the Ishvalian, Gluttony, Lust said as she faced Harry, her fingers extending into spikes, trying to pierce him. Harry easily blocked it with his sword. While it was only a steel sword, he didn't want to use the ice sword he found in House Stark before figuring out how to replicate it. Its blade was strengthened by a multitude of spells, making it temporarily stronger until they ran out. Kinky. Still, I would have preferred if we went on a date first. Scar led Gluttony away, and Harry had no doubt the man could take care of one homunculus by himself. After all, he had shared its fighting style, and Gluttony was the dumbest of the lot, easily deceived. Oh, I don't date weak humans. Your kind is so pathetic. Lust replied in her teasing voice, once again sending her fingers piercing at him. You will have to survive first. But be a good boy and tell me what I want, and I will make it quick. Blocking them once again with his sword, he said, just good that I am only a partial human. Nice to meet you, Lust. I am Harry. I can do one better. I will beat you, then we can go for a nice dinner. He had no problem keeping up with the homunculus, while she was stronger than a normal human, Harry was too, thanks to his elvish bloodline. They exchanged slashes, keeping close in combat. From time to time, he landed a punch at her with a smirk. She grew more and more impatient. What are you doing? How? She asked in fear as she tried to create distance between them. Oh, you mean this? Harry said as he held up a big red stone. Grammarai had the ability to manipulate energy and was part of the magic system of the Dragon Rider world. While a novice practitioner was only able to use his own energy to power his spells, an apprentice already learned to store it in objects, especially jewels. but an expert could use more advanced methods to manipulate the energy of other life forms. That made advanced magic users in the Dragon Rider world so dangerous because someone without wards could be just sucked dry. Under the guidance of Jura, Harry's mastery of the practice had almost reached master level. While Lust seemed to have a natural resistance to her energy being manipulated from a distance, probably because of the souls in her Philosopher's Stone or the fact that she was a homunculus, while touching her, he managed to steal more and more souls from her, manifesting them in a Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone was the most powerful and legendary object in the Full Metal Alchemist verse, granting the user the energy of human souls. It was created by human souls. They were basically less efficient versions of alchemy. While the dragon souls in the alchemy produced energy and stored it in the jewel, they also empowered the person they were working with their minds. The Philosopher's Stones used countless human souls as energy without storing their energy. These souls were also not working with the user. They had a lot of resentment in them, and if they were strong enough, they might even attack the person. Isn't it dangerous? Harry asked innocently. I believe you die once you run out of souls. Scary. I wouldn't want such a beautiful woman to turn into dust. Give them back. Lust shouted in fear as she tried to get away from him. Through losing many of her souls, she had become weaker. Harry ignored her fear and quickly closed the distance between them as he grabbed her by the throat. Oh, now I am the kinky one. A bit of choke play. He absorbed more and more souls into the stone but stopped right before she ran out of them. It seems like you will fall over at any moment, he said as he watched the exhausted Lust. Humans are pathetic. And somehow they are the most widespread race in the multiverse. Then kill me, human. You have beaten me, she gritted out, no longer having the strength to struggle against him. I don't think so. Now that you are weakened, there is nothing you can do to resist. Petrificus totalis. Stupefy. A green and red flash hit her as she slumped onto the ground. He put her on his shoulder and ran after Scar and Gluttony. It didn't take long to find Scar repeatedly killing Gluttony. Harry didn't hesitate and sprinted behind them. His hand grabbed Gluttony as he began to pull out the souls from the lack-witted homunculus, who wasn't realizing what was happening as he focused on Scar. It didn't take long, and the bald man turned into dust as his souls were added to Harry's Philosopher's Stone. What did you do to him? Scar asked as he watched the spectacle while distracting Gluttony. I took the souls keeping him alive from him and added them to this Philosopher's Stone, Harry explained as he showed the man the red stone in his palm. What are you planning to do with it? Scar asked suspiciously. Hard to say, since I have no idea whether it would work. But we pretty much know what a human body is made of, Harry gave a hint. But I will need to study alchemy first. Scar's eyes widened. You can bring them back? Even the Ishvalians used to make a Philosopher's Stone. Like I said, I have no idea. I need to study alchemy and maybe alchemy first. Probably not all of them. Harry sighed. It's just an idea I have. I know that the homunculus created an army of human puppets with some souls. I see. I hope you will succeed, friend. This is for now where our paths split, isn't it? Scar asked with a look. Yes, you know the plan. Don't look so glum. I am sure your people will follow you. Don't forget the other things. See ya, Harry said as he turned around and left the canalization in a different direction. Are you sure it's wise to play with the dead? Viladr asked in his head. The dead should remain dead. You know what happens with the alchemists who try to bring back the dead. I am not trying to bring back the dead. Their souls are very much alive and in agony. I am aware that I can't pay the price for every last one of them, but even if I can give a quarter of the souls and their bodies back, it would be a success, Harry sent back. Possible. Still dangerous. Viladr said thoughtfully while Harry studied the blood-red stone in the palm of his hand while moving out of the sewers. On the way, he put Lust's body in the store and put her under a strong sleeping spell empowered by the alchemy. Chapter 31. POV. Ishval, an uprising in Riol and border conflicts in the east and west. It can't be possible. A massive transmutation circle. This is bad. People need to be warned. Hello. Or should I say goodbye? A voice from behind him said, he knew her. Lieutenant Maria Ross, what are you doing? Lieutenant Colonel Hughes asked, as his hands carefully wandered to his pockets. No, who are you? Oh, how did you realize? Maria Ross has a birthmark under her left eye. My bad. The person in the shape of Maria Ross said as she touched her left cheek and a birthmark appeared on it, "You just know too much." Hughes chose that moment of confusion to throw one of his throwing knives right in between her eyes, before rushing out of the room. "Just what are these things? Lieutenant Colonel Hughes, are you going to brag over your family again over the phone?" the receptionist at the front desk asked. He quickly calmed himself down and said, "No, I need to call the president's off." "Does he?" For him to be attacked, someone must have been keeping an eye on him. The only people who knew that he knew the truth about the Philosopher's Stones were the Elric brothers, who discovered it in the first place, Major Louis Armstrong, who has no motivation to keep the truth secret, Maria Ross, whom they are trying to blame his murder on right now, her partner Denny Brosh, who is also far too low on the totem pole, and President King Bradley himself. Among them, the only one with the power to organize such a massive conspiracy is King Bradley. He has to be the mastermind. He put the phone back and said, "Sorry for interrupting you." "Hey, Lieutenant. This is a massive conspiracy. But I know who I can trust." Calling a number through the phone booth. On the receiving end, a voice replied, "Hello, this is East Area HQ. Sorry, I am not allowed to connect phones using an outside line. This is Lieutenant Colonel Hughes from Central. This is an emergency, so I am calling from outside. Please give me your identification." "Ah, that's a pain in the ass. Ankle, Sugar, Oliver, 800. He answered in haste. "I've confirmed the code. Please wait a moment. Hurry up, the military is in trouble." He shouted into the phone. "And so are you." The voice of Maria Ross, "This has become a real pain. No idea where Lust has run off. But put that phone down. Aren't we through with that already?" he said, while reading the knife in his sleeve and putting the phone aside. "You aren't Maria Ross." "No, I am not. I can't die here." He turned around, ready to attack, but froze as he saw who stood there. He couldn't. "You aren't going to stab your wife, are you?" his wife said. "Nice effects, aren't they?" She pulled the trigger. Nothing happened besides clicking. "You already know that this isn't your wife. Why are you freezing? Do you want to die?" A male voice spoke from behind them. Harry Potter POV. "I just came in time," he thought, as he had disabled the gun with a spell. "Who are you? Why are you interfering?" "Envy, in the shape of Gracia Hughes," said. Harry grinned as he closed the distance between them, grabbing Envy and pulling souls out of him. "You're Hunter." Stupor. It only stunned him for a moment, but that was what Harry wanted to accomplish. He needed time to absorb the souls inside of Envy. His plan would only work if he was weakened. With many souls, Envy would just resist his magic. That surprise attack was enough to overpower the homunculus and put him to sleep with a stronger stunner. Phew, good that it worked. It would have been bad if he managed to turn into his big form. He said this as he put the weakened Envy on the floor. "Who are you? What did you do to Gracia?" Lieutenant Hughes shouted at him. "Nothing. Your wife is at home. You have figured out what is going to happen to this country. It isn't the first time. The last time it happened was in Xerxes. The same masterminds are controlling the military, this is one of them. He is a homunculus that can change its shape. But the top of your military is also involved. They have many spies." Harry explained quickly, looking at the phone. Hughes realized what he was implying. "I can't do anything. They need to be stopped." "What do you expect me to do?" "I agree." Harry nodded as he pulled a dead body out of his inventory and put it on the floor beside Hughes. "But for now, it's better if you die." "Wah!" Harry pointed his finger at the corpse and transfigured it into a copy of Hughes with a bullet wound in his head. "They will know that something is wrong," Hughes said, pointing at the unconscious Envy. "If you kill him, it wouldn't make any sense that I also died." "Oh, I am not going to kill him yet. Legiliums. Obliviate." He cast it as he modified the memories of Envy. He changed a lot of them, giving him the feeling that nothing was wrong with his souls and he was just running low on them. He would get more back in the future from Father the Dwarf in the Bottle, the first homunculus. "I modified his memories. He believes he has killed you and just run low on souls," Harry explained. "Modified? Wait. Souls? What is happening? These homunculi are using Philosopher's Stones to live." "Oh, and I am a wizard. Harry said, it's better if we leave for now. The military will soon be here. Renevere. Envy was slowly getting back to consciousness. But Harry and Hughes were already gone by then. He just saw the dead body of a fake husky on the floor. Eliza. My poor angel. Hughes cried from beside him as they watched his own fernery from a distance. Are you sure I can't see them? You know as well as me that they need to believe you dead. Harry sighed. This man had become very annoying. Once Harry had shared his plan with him and explained everything that was going on, basically the moment the ice was broken, this dude was bragging about his daughter. They will be here soon. If everything goes according to plan, you will soon see your daughter again. I know. But I almost died. He sighed as they waited while he was gushing about his daughter. Knock, knock. Come in, Harry said calmly. A massive man entered the room. He had a large frame of exceptionally sculpted and well-defined muscles. His head is completely bald, save for a single lock of curly blonde hair hanging from just above his brow. His eyebrows, too, are bare of hair, and he sports a thick, blonde handlebar mustache, which hides his mouth while accentuating his strong, cleft chin. Ah, Major Armstrong, thank you for coming. Harry nodded. I brought the people you asked for, Mr. Potter. I hope you are able to share the information about Lieutenant Colonel Hughes's death now. The massive man said this as he stared intently at Harry. Behind two smaller people entered the room, well, normal-sized, but in comparison to the Major, you could say small. A clean-shaven young man with dark eyes and dark hair, followed by a pale-skinned young woman in her mid to late 20s with mid-back length blonde hair that is fastened up in the back by a dark-colored clip barrette in a style that resembles a bird tail. I see you brought Colonel Mustang and Lieutenant Hawkeye. Harry nodded with a smile. Pleased to meet you. Who are you? And what information do you have about the death of Lieutenant Colonel Hughes? The Colonel was clearly not in the mood for games. The door of the side room opened, and Hughes came in and said, Why so serious? You are acting as if someone died. I just knew you cared. All three newcomers looked at the perceived dead man in shock, while Harry sighed. Suddenly they were all combat ready, with Lieutenant Hawkeye pointing her gun right at Hughes. Who are you? What is going on here? Do you have to tease them? They just came from your fernery. Harry sighed as he chided the man in the glasses. Oi, don't blame it on me. You were doing nothing else with that smug villain look on the cheek. Stop acting so cool. Hughes shot back. Stop this theater, and explain what is going on. Well, thanks to the Elric brothers' discovery about the truth of the Philosopher's Stones, I figured out a massive plot involving a nationwide transmutation circle and the upper echelons of the military. But someone kept an eye on me and tried to kill me. If it weren't for Harry there, I would have died, but we faked my death. Hughes gave a short summary. While Mustang and Hawkeye didn't know the truth about Philosopher's Stones yet, Major Armstrong had been present when the Elric brothers revealed the truth. You don't mean to say? It can't be. Yes, the whole Central Army leadership is involved in a plot to sacrifice the whole country in order to create a powerful Philosopher's Stone containing the souls of all Ames Tri's people. Hughes nodded. Wah! Not the first time it happened. The last time it happened was in Xerxes. The same being is behind it once again. Harry added before he began to explain. And you are telling me the upper leadership is involved in this? For immortality? Do they know the truth about Xerxes King? Mustang asked. No idea. But they know that immortality is possible. Slave 23 is proof. And King Bradley is the homunculi wrath either way. He is an absolute monster. Wrath and pride are both the scariest of the homunculi, followed by sloth. I have already taken care of lust and gluttony. Envy is not really strong, just troublesome with his shape changing. And greed has betrayed them. He is in Dublith right now and may be a potential ally. This slave 23 is still alive? Who is he? Mustang questioned, further storing the information about the homunculi for further planning. Oh, you met his sons. He recently had a family. His name is Van Hohenheim, he is the absent father of the Elric brothers. He has been working on a plan to prevent the homunculi from succeeding for the last 400 years. That's why he had to leave his family. The Elric brothers seem to always be in the center of this **T. So why are you revealing the truth to us? What are you planning, and what do you want? From my understanding, this has nothing to do with you. You can just go to your own world. Mustang said calmly, but he intently stared at Harry. Alchemy, trade, and knowledge. I want to learn alchemy. It would be nice if you could teach me, as a down payment for my help, the very basics for now, the rest I will get myself. Specifically from you after this is over. I know that you are planning to become the leader of this land. I want trade relations with my own and scientific information on weapons and different alchemical research. Harry requested. I see. What stops you from invading us in the future? You yourself are already powerful with your magic. But then you would have an army with firearms at your back too. Mustang pointed this out. The two of us can sign a non-aggression, these ones are binding through the universe itself. And if I signed one permanently, it would bind me for eternity. You just have a human lifespan, and it would be bound to you. Once you die in decades, your people wouldn't have to keep to it. Was the honest reply from Harry. His contracts were just too broken and useful. If you can prove that these contracts really work, I will agree to them. So what is the plan? Harry grinned. Isn't it obvious? We need to overthrow your government. And kill the remaining homunculi. For that, we need allies. You should keep your head down and secretly recruit the people you trust. I will recruit others too. I have already recruited Scar. The serial killer. Yep, he is an Ishvalian. He was angry to hear the true reason behind the massacre of his people and was willing to work with you. Right now, he is trying to recruit his own people. Chapter 32. Alchemy, FMA, Active, LV13, the science of altering matter by using natural energy. Transmutation circle, active, the ability to create and activate a transmutation circle, enabling the user to alter matter while following the law of equivalent exchange. Alchemy mastery, novice, passive, LV89, you are a beginner in all areas related to alchemy. Be it the art of transmutation, poems, or other mythical sciences. All skills falling into the alchemy category are 8.9% stronger. All skills falling into the alchemy category are 0.89% cheaper. Alchemy is a useful ability but, at the same time, very disappointing. Because right now, Harry is the only person in his world able to use it. At least the Full Metal Alchemist version of it. No matter how, the only person capable of activating a transmutation remained Harry. It didn't matter whether he or someone else drew it. Only he could activate it. And he knew the reason. It was a matter of energy. For him, his player ability made it possible to substitute the functionality of the skills so that he could work with it. But it didn't mean that it worked for others. The original alchemy of Ames Tries is powered by the dwarf in the bottle, who now calls himself Father. He acted as the source of all alchemy in Ames Tries, or rather, the souls and energy of the people of Xerxes. Harry had no interest in introducing such a concept to his own land. It was far too wasteful. He would need to learn alchemy too. They were actually using the flow of natural energy. He also needed to learn more about alchemy. The skills he gained through his system were actually quite complex. For example, there were multiple methods of leveling them. The most obvious one was constant usage, but based on the skill, the effectiveness was very different. Skills that tend to be more physical and less reliant on a mental or metaphysical aspect were the easiest to level up through continuous repetition. While they also slowed down with a higher level, not as much as a skill containing a mental aspect. That's where the second method of leveling skills came from, knowledge. Actually understanding how a skill works or is used properly gave the most experience but was the hardest method to level. While he could swing his sword a million times and it slowly leveled up his sword mastery, understanding how to do something could only be done once. And certain skills, like magical ones or alchemy, all based on more knowledge than the physical body, were harder to level up with repetition. That's a piece of information he gained from studying magic. He had mainly leveled his magic masteries by grinding different spells thousands of times. But at some point, he had maxed out all the spells he had available, and his masteries were no longer leveling. But the Dragon Elgenary teaching him insisted that he experiment with his magic more instead of just relying on skills. And the moment he figured out an alternate application for the Lumos charm, even though the skill was maxed out, his charm mastery rose. Later, he began to study actual knowledge and theoretical knowledge from his books instead of just learning the skills. Physics, chemistry, biology, and other sciences helped raise his skills too. Unfortunately, what he knew, he knew. That's also the reason why his alchemy mastery was far more leveled than his actual alchemy skill. All that scientific knowledge he gained added to the skill. But he needed to study alchemy further. Maybe he had a source of information for that. Renevere it. The moment the spell hit Lust, lying on the floor, her eyes opened, searching her surroundings. She quickly got up, readying herself for combat. Morning sunshine. Why so nervous? The moment he said that, she turned around, directly looking at him and ready to attack. I wouldn't do that. You are almost out of juice, if I killed you now, you would be dead. Why did you bring me away from Ames tries? Where are we? Lust asked, her eyes not leaving his. So you can feel it. Interesting. Indeed, we are no longer in the range of your father's soul network. Neither are we in the Great Desert or Seeing. Harry replied with a grin, directly revealing that he knew of them. You are aware of father. She said calmly, you still didn't answer my question. Harry put a finger on his chin and said, your question. You could say you fulfilled your father's dream. You left the bottle. What's that supposed to mean? Lust asked dryly. Oh, right now you have crossed the boundaries between worlds and entered my own. No longer in the bottle that you and your father are trapped in. Come here, Tiamat. Let's give her a small show. The small dragon that had reached the size of a dog landed beside him. Are you trying to trick me? Clearly, this has to be some kind of chimera. Lust pointed this out. Nope, this is my partner, Tiamat. She is a dragon. Harry smirked. Greetings, little artificial human at the bottom of the well. Tiamat said it mentally. TCH. Why did you bring me here? What do you want? Lust questioned, ignoring the dragon. She clearly remembers the magic he had used to take her out. Nothing of it resembled any form of alchemy. Harry looked at her innocently and asked, why would you think I need something from you? Because I am still alive. I would guess it's not information about our plans. Yep, that's true. I know quite a bit about you guys. It had taken a while to remember all the necessary details, but he had a rough idea of the plot that took a few months, including the abilities of the major players. To be honest, beyond the resources he could get in exchange, there was not much interest in whether the villains succeeded or not. But since he knew the good guys would win in the end, why not be on their side and profit a bit? I want all your knowledge about alchemy. Harry stated it directly. Lust chuckled a bit. It seems you are not as well informed as you make yourself out to be. Now Harry was confused. What do you mean? You obviously knew of my ultimate spell. But did you see any of us use any other abilities besides the ones we were gifted with? I know father can use alchemy, that much is obvious. Pride can too. Harry pointed this out. So you know of Pride too. When did you see Pride ever use alchemy? She asked with curiosity in her voice. He did after absorbing, right? He absorbed an alchemist with his abilities and inherited his abilities. Harry realized that before that, that little monster kid didn't use any form of alchemy. And Pride is the oldest and most trusted of us. Lust chuckled. We others are limited to our superhuman strength and our ultimate gifts. Is it a precaution so you wouldn't be able to overthrow father? Like the fact that he has control over all alchemy in Ames tries. Harry realized. Exactly. Father doesn't fully trust us. Which is not wrong. We have our own ambitions and desires. Look at Greed, he left years ago to pursue his own goals. Lust pointed this out. And what are yours? Isn't it obvious? I want to see the pathetic, vain humans fall into chaos and despair. Their suffering gives me great pleasure. Lust replied seductively. Pathetic and vain, huh? It's sad. Your limited view. Once you pulled humanity into chaos and despair, you helped your father fulfill his goal. What would happen to you? Harry asked. She stared at him, but didn't reply. There was something unreadable in her eyes. Lust is an interesting name. It's clear that whatever your father chose to create you wasn't the desire for sex. You clearly are lusting to hurt humanity. Harry said calmly, my guess is because of the very reason for your existence. You lust for love, for acknowledgement, for belonging. And yet you were created to be discarded. Shut up. Lust said in anger, just kill me already. I don't know anything about alchemy, so I am of no use to you. In the opposite. Capable people are what I lack. Join me, Lust. Harry said, stretching his hand out. There is no way you would ever trust someone like me. This is just some trap. Lust rejected. A piece of paper materialized in his hand. This is one of my abilities. It's called a contract. The terms on this paper are binding and enforced through the universe itself. I offer you to always have a place by my side. I won't discard you like your father is planning to. You will always have a home with me. Help me build a powerful kingdom and reach heights beyond the power of whatever you, father, ever could reach. She looked at him for a long moment before reading through the paper. Then she signed it right beside his own signature. Chapter 33. He had gained a capable subordinate, but he wasn't any closer to gaining more knowledge about alchemy. And this was such a slow skill to grind. After Lust had signed the contract, he was sure she wouldn't betray him. This contract they had signed ensured that neither of them could betray the other. She would work for him and could refuse any order he gave within reason. He couldn't harm her, and she couldn't harm him, neither directly nor indirectly. Harry had restored her strength by returning her souls to her. Right now, she is studying ancient languages under Jura. While she was strong for this world and her own, she was no army killer. Neither was she particularly strong in the larger universe. Based on his calculations, she was about genin level in the Naruto world, and her ultimate spear was nothing more than a simple jutsu. Since he was planning to raise a mage division in his army either way, Lust could learn magic. Once his kingdom took more shape, he would give her more responsibility, but right now he has less than 40,000 people in the total population. The beginnings of an economy were forming, but it would take some time and more people. The entirety of the north had more than 100 times that population, making him one of the smaller lords with quite a big piece of land. It couldn't be helped by the savage way the Skagosi had lived before. All of that didn't change the fact that he didn't have anyone from whom he could get knowledge of alchemy and survive it. His original idea of using Lust, who could survive a complete mental search because the Philosopher's Stone granted her regeneration, was prevented because she had no deep knowledge of alchemy. It never made sense for her to study it since her body had been created in such a way that she couldn't use it either way. Harry didn't want to do a full depth dive into the memories of Colonel Mustang or Major Armstrong. His mastery over the mental arts could leave permanent damage on a human, and they weren't evil. While he had no problem hurting others, he didn't want to do it casually to civilians or just good guys. Wait. Suddenly Harry had a flash of inspiration. Didn't Scar kill some scummy state alchemists that enjoyed hurting innocents in Ishval around now? He is right now off recruiting the Ishvalian survivors, so there is no way for him to do it now. But before Harry could go to get Hughes to open the door to Ames tries for him, the door opened from the other side. A black-haired teen frowns as he slowly heads towards the meeting place one of his old friends told him to come to. According to the friend list, they should be right here. He spots a head of golden brown hair, waving right at him, Yokibu. Suddenly, she turns around the corner, darting into an alleyway. The black-haired sword-wielder frowned for a moment before he quietly followed her. Around the corner, the dark alleyway was filled with numerous crates, almost stacked like a wall. Argo was sitting atop the stack with a smug grin. So, Argo, did you figure out how she did it? Of course, Kibu, she replied playfully, before rolling backwards, falling behind the crates, and assumedly landing on her feet, not that the black-haired swordsman could see. Kirito followed her around the wooden half-wall, seeing her lean against the brick wall of one of the buildings forming this alley. Do you have my dagger? I do. Kirito nods slowly. Still, it's surprising that you are on the same level as me. Oh, I got some help. Anyway, here's how she did it. Argo smirked as she reached a hand down to her side, grabbing onto nothing. Suddenly, the brick wall rippled outwards, revealing a wooden door, causing his eyebrows to shoot up. On it was the symbol of a root. A secret shop? Here it is, Kibu. The Dimensional Trader. HN. I see. He mutters, studying the door with curiosity, only for a small arm to be held out in front of him as he tried to walk towards it. Forgetting something. Right. I quickly sent her a trade request, placing the dagger he got from the quest in the trade window, before hitting accept. Thank you kindly. Argo smirked as she accepted the trade. Now, my party is waiting. This dagger will help a lot. I would love to see your expression, but time is of importance right now. Give Harry my regards. Bye-bye, she said as she disappeared behind the barrier of boxes before shouting, leave the boxes as barriers, I took so much care pilling them up. We talk later. Party? Shouldn't soloing be more efficient? How did she keep up with his level while partying and watching the girl? Kirito walked forward, placing a hand on the invincible door, and opened it. On the other side was a shop fitting into the style of Incrad's first floor, but on first glance, he could already tell there was no way it should be here. There were collections of armor and weapons, including bows, put on display. Steel-made equipment. The current equipment available to them was copper, even loot drops would be the same if they weren't made of monster material. And then there was the black-haired boy tending to the shop. While he looked humanoid, he had something ethereal about him. His ears were also slightly pointy, similar to those of the elves that appeared on the third floor but not as much. Welcome to the Dimensional Trader. My interdimensional shop connects your death game to my world, among many others. I am Harry, the shopkeeper. For a moment, his eyes checked the name above his head. So Kirito, what can I get for you? Oh, and be careful about the door, you will get a headache for a moment once you close it. Since you are outside of Incrad. What do you sell? He quietly asks. Anything I can get my hands on in a medieval world. Weapons, armor, other primitive usables, food, tools, but also more esoteric things, like skill essences that can level up your skills. The earlier you use one, the better, because they don't stack with your already grind experience. The young man replied. Skill essences? Like for my one-handed sword skill. That's one I have available. My own is now at level 300. But I grinded it beforehand almost to level 100 because I thought it would add 300 levels to it. He sighed at the boy. Still, that's useful. How much do they cost? Kirito asked in interest. Since they are not as broken as I thought, I have to adjust my expectations. The most expensive ones for leveling your skill to 300 will be for 3000 COR. Harry sighed, but before you spend your money on a skill essence, aren't you the guy Argo mentioned who has an interest in fishing? I've gathered all the different types of equipment my people are using. While they are slightly primitive, they should give you the profession. Really? Did Argo mention the other professions too? He asked now, fully understanding what this meant for them. Yep, we already have Smith. Argo right now is leveling Lisbeth to jumpstart the profession. She was the one who originally found the door to my shop. She also asked me for sewing stuff, carpentry, and medicals. By the way, check this out. What does your system say? Harry said, handing him a collection of bottles. Milk of the poppy, a powerful liquid medicine acting as a painkiller and anesthetic. Increases regeneration by 5 for 5 minutes. Numbs pain. Causes the status effect stunned for the duration. They seem to be different liquids and herbs with healing properties. Kirito replied, these will come in really handy, since we at most have food as a portable healing item until floor 5. You are getting no healing skill from any of them. Nope. Too bad. It seems like I won't be able to get a medical kit. Suddenly Harry stopped. What? It's fine if you don't have any medical kits. These are already a tremendous help and will save countless lives. Kirito calmed him down. No, I connected to a world that should have medical kits since Argo was here. It's technologically around the level of WW1, but they should have medical kits. Harry replied as his eyes widened. Oh, wait, do they have guns? Asked the black swordsman. Yeah, but it will take a while until I get some. They are strictly controlled by their military. I already made a deal for them, but I will have to help overthrow a government first. Harry dropped that as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Overthrow a government? Kirito repeated it dryly. Welcome to my world. Like you are trapped in a death game, their whole country is about to be sacrificed to turn someone into a god. Their government is controlled by that guy. Harry chuckled. Kirito had to chuckle himself, suddenly, his own plight didn't seem as heavy anymore. What a strange shop. Well, stay safe. You already are saving a ton of lives with this shop. I won't worry. You guys don't forget to call me for the first boss battle. I will help out. I am almost at level 40 in SAO. So do you want to buy something? Yes, I will take the fishing equipment. And can I get the sword skill essence on credit if I give you half as a down payment? Kirito asked. With the price of the fishing equipment, he hadn't enough to buy the whole essence. But waiting to get it wouldn't be worth it. Sure, I am already selling my weapons to you guys on credit. So why not? Chapter 34. POV. It was nighttime, and the lanterns were spending light as an elderly man was strolling on a road besides the canal through Central City. He wore a black tuxedo and a top hat. His grandfatherly dream was completed by a very long mustache. Suddenly, the elderly man stopped as he spotted a cloaked figure right on his way. Giulio Comanche. The figure asked as he slowly looked at the elderly man, his features hidden by his hood. The man now identified as Giulio Comanche asked, "What do you want?" When the figure dropped his hood, revealing the marked scar, dark skin, and red eyes of an Ishvalian, Giulio began to grin madly. "Ho, a ghost of Ishval has appeared." He removed his gloves, revealing the tattoos on the palms of his hands, an Ishvalian with a scar on his forehead. "You are supposed to have died in East City. I won't meet God until I have ended all of you wretched state alchemists." Scar replied as he readied himself. "Even knowing that I am the Sliver Alchemist, you still dare to challenge me?" Giulio said, now showing off the tattoos on his palm fully, that they were an extremely complex set of transmutation circles. "A fine spirit you have." Giulio opened by transmuting the surrounding metal of the lanterns and railings into a pair of speared chains, sending them at Scar. "Oh, how I have missed this feeling." He grinned madly as he kept attacking, transmuting two shurikens that he also threw at Scar. What happened next surprised the old man. Instead of witnessing the destructive form of alchemy he had heard the Ishvalian was using, instead a steel sword appeared from somewhere, which he used to deflect all the incoming weaponry at an inhuman speed. "I didn't know you were using swords. Anyway, my left leg that was taken by you, a swipes, was aching for this." The old man grinned as he kept on attacking, transmuting more of his surroundings into weapons. Creating a sword for himself. He directly jumped at Scar while spinning with his sword, but the Ishvalian blocked all of his attacks with his own blade. "Don't look down on me!" shouted Giulio as he saw that it had taken Scar no effort to block him as he once again began to spin jump. "You are wide open. What's this dumb spinning supposed to be?" Scar said as he pointed his finger at Giulio and a green flash headed at the man. The next thing he knew was that his body no longer listened to him. With efflorescence, he gritted out, "Who are you?" "I am Scar, aren't I? But it doesn't matter. You are dead either way, just give me what I want." Scar said with a grin before once again pointing his finger right in between Giulio's eyebrows. Legilimens. Alchemy, FMA, has leveled up to level 103. Alchemy Mastery, Apprentice, has leveled up to level 88. Elementary Mastery, Metal, Apprentice, has leveled up to level 95. Mind Magic Mastery, Expert, has leveled up to level 54. Physics Mastery, Apprentice, has leveled up to level 78. Chemistry Mastery, Apprentice, has leveled up to level 98. I believe these were all three that Scar had killed in Central City. Harry thought as he removed the glamour and transfiguration he had used to look like Scar and once again blended into society without being noticed. His skills had leveled quite a lot, and each of these state alchemists had added new knowledge, which gave his skills experience since each of them had focused on a different branch. But it didn't look like he would gain the ability to use alchemy without a transmutation circle, like the Elric brothers or their teacher. Maybe it was a completely separate skill. Or there really was a gate inside of him that had to be opened first. The homunculi were always talking about the Elric brothers as the people who had opened the gate. Maybe it was more physical than just metaphysical. Anyway, it was the only skill that could become really useful in the long term. Most of the other abilities of the alchemist were too limited or had too many weaknesses to be useful in the multiverse. While transmutation circle-less alchemy was flexible enough to always be useful and far more flexible and easier to use than transfiguration, which required a great deal of focus. Else alchemy was only useful in science and industry. For that, he had to find a way to make alchemy usable for all the people in Skagos. Which meant he needed to learn alchemy too. For now, it was time to retreat. He still had a few weeks before meeting up with Scar. Meanwhile, he could use his newfound alchemy expertise to accelerate the different construction projects on Skagos. "Are these bikes?" "Yo Harry. How is it going?" Argo asked as she entered the store. "Did you get the sewing kit?" "Are these bikes?" "Yup. How? Don't you live in a medieval world? Did you suddenly manage to revolutionize technology so far?" She wondered as she skimmed through the text of one of the bikes. "I recently connected to a world that is technologically on the level of WW1. But they also use alchemy, transmutation, and all that stuff. He explained. Argo looked up from the bike and said, "Wait, are you talking about the manga and anime Full Metal Alchemist? Hey, so you know it. It's exactly what I am talking about. I even got some medkits from there." Harry said he was pulling them out of his inventory and onto the table. Argo read through their texts while asking, "So you've got your hands on a Philosopher's Stone already?" "I did. I killed Gluttony and took his stone." "You did? You sure work fast. What are you planning to use it for?" Argo asked with an unreadable look on her face. "Honestly? I am not sure. If I am real, while I am ruthless in some aspects, I don't condone harming innocents. And the majority of souls used for it are innocent. My original idea was to maybe recreate bodies for them and put their souls back. That way I would profit by getting more population while not abusing the stone." Harry said, but sighed. "So what is the problem?" "By now, I have spent a bit of time studying the stone. It's made of souls, and each of them is in agony. They have unfortunately lost their sense of self. Remember the homunculus puppets in the manga? That's the best possible thing for these souls. I am not a god. They would be purely instinctive puppets without any real selves." He sighed. It had been such a great hope for him, but they wouldn't be any different from his inferi, just weaker because his inferi were harder to kill without fire. Argo thought for a moment, then why not create some newborns? As far as I can tell, each newborn child forms a fresh, innocent soul by itself. I have discussed this with some very wise and experienced people, dragons. If I create a newborn and implant one of the souls into it, I will just get a tormented child who is always in pain, more like a beast. A soul has a lot of influence on itself. The best I can do for them at this point is to use them and return them to the cycle of reincarnation." He explained that he had even visited the Elgunnery in Alagagia to get their input. "It doesn't matter right now. Is there anything I could do for you?" "Oh, right, I totally forgot. But first of all, how much for the bike?" "I want it," she demanded while staring at him. 3,000 COR, they are quite hard to replicate for me right now." Harry explained briefly. "Can't you just alchemy more of them?" She pointed it out. "Sure, if I had the raw materials. I am missing the rubber and some of the plastic. I hadn't had the time yet to set productions for such things up. There is simply a massive lack of education and people for me." Harry replied, "So 3,000 is the best I can do. Ames Tries isn't the safest place to buy things right now. That homunculus called Pride, the strongest of them, has his eyes everywhere right now. Since the disappearance of Lust and Gluttony, he is very cautious." "You killed Lust too?" "Nope, I recruited her," was the proud reply. Argo just stared at him with a deadpan look. "You are a perverted boob lover." "Oi, I said I was lacking qualified people. What's wrong with recruiting someone qualified just because she is also hot? I saw an opportunity and took it." I don't believe you. Anyway, I take the bike and the medkits. Do you also take items in exchange? What have you got?" This she summoned something oval-shaped out of her inventory. It resembled an egg. Direwolf familiar egg, rare. An egg that can be used to hatch a direwolf familiar. "I take it. You get the bike for it," Harry offered. "The bike and the medkits. Also, you waived half of my bill for the weapons you sold me in advance. These are clearly items that you won't find in your own world." She counter-haggled. "I may not find an egg that can hatch dire wolves, but I could find a dire wolf and tame it since they are a thing in my world. My last offer is the bike and the medical kits. I will consider releasing a part of your bill for other cool items." Harry relented. Fine. Cheapskate." She agreed as they exchanged the goods. "So what is the actual reason you came here for?" "Right. Lisbeth is ready to start unlocking the smithing skills. She has enough skill slots for the necessary skills." "Is the smithy ready?" Argo asked excitedly. "Yup, through that door." He said this as he opened a door on one side of the room, revealing a medieval forge that he had constructed. It held all the tools and furnishings that were common for smiths in West Eros. "Nice. I will send her over." "Should I send Ygritte back too? She has a lot of fun." Argo asked. "Keep her for now, I need some stronger people. If she levels up, she will become a good commander in the future." Harry smiled, thinking about how much fun Ygritte had while hunting monsters. The threat of death was nothing new to her, but hunting such a unique game was something she enjoyed very much. Ahem, Lust? What are you doing with that boy? Harry blinked as he watched Lust pull a roped, bound, and gagged young man behind her towards the provisional cells of his mountain hideout. Who even is he? I never saw him before. You assigned me to be the head of internal affairs, I am just doing my job. That one is a spy who arrived today. I caught him before he could send off a message, she explained as she licked her lips seductively, taking great pleasure in pulling the young man around like a pet. While she had accepted Harry partially for his power, partially for the contract between the two of them, and partially because he wasn't fully human, she still looked down on regular humans. She had a completely sadistic streak and loved to treat common humans as trash or lower beings. On the other hand, she liked capable humans, like Lisbeth, for example. At the first meeting, she completely looked down on her, but after witnessing her smithing ability and other Sao abilities, she gained some respect for the brown-haired girl. Harry, the capable leader he was, gave Lust a fitting position. She was responsible for internal affairs, which was a broad term covering law enforcement, defense of the island, and other small matters handling humans and management. She most enjoyed the law enforcement part, but thanks to the contracts the Skagosi were under, she hadn't much to do yet. Still, the wildlings were unruly enough. In the future, she would have to build a proper police force. But for now, she was enough. Her superhuman strength and newfound magical skills allowed her to handle situations accordingly. What exactly did he do? Harry asked as he took a closer look at the young man. That boy arrived this morning at the port. He saw me training the new warg squad you wanted to develop. Also, Tiamat was there. The moment he saw a dragon, he began muttering something about needing to inform the Citadel. Magic is alive and all that stuff, she explained. He clearly is a foreign spy. Now that he was looking at the boy, who was wearing brown robes, he noticed something around his neck. Lust had placed a leather leash on it and was pulling him around, but it was a chain made of different colored links. Oh, there was so much happening. I totally forgot that one of these guys was supposed to arrive. He is our new maester, Harry stated as he remembered that Lord Stark had sent for a new maester for him from the Citadel as the new Lord of Skagos. Lust looked at the poor boy before blinking at Harry. Maester? Are you mad? That worm is clearly my new pet. Maester. The best description for them is learned men, scholars, or researchers. They are an organization that has monopolized knowledge in the Seven Kingdoms and is able to influence every lord. They are teachers, healers, and counselors for the most noble lords in Westeros, Harry explained as he looked at the boy before thinking out loud. Although I was conflicted about what to do with him, this one already knows too much. Maybe he should have had an accident before arriving here. The young maester became particularly pale as he heard these words. Can't I keep him? I promise I will train him to be a good pet. He brought some interesting things with him, books, roosts, and different vials of potions. Lust pouted as her finger ran over the young maester's spine. I am reasonably sure he is here to spy for Old Town, maybe even for House Hightower. Based on my information, they are one of the most mysterious but powerful houses in Westeros, having their hands in everything but never getting truly involved, Harry replied. If you want to keep him, we would have to ensure that he doesn't spy for anyone. He removed the gag from the about 20-year-old boy, and he began to immediately beg, My lord, I won't tell anyone about what I saw. Please know that I will serve your house faithfully. Don't kill me. Stop crying. What's your name? Harry asked as he stared at the boy. He had a high level for his age, but his stats were mostly in the mental field. He was weaker than most soldiers. Pylus, my lord. I completed forging my chain this year. I wasn't instructed to spy on anyone in particular, just to take a closer look at the happenings on Skagos. They also asked me to confirm a few more common rumors about magic, like the unicorns that are supposed to live here. But nothing specific against you, my lord, he explained desperately. It seemed like the maesters weren't too interested in Skagos, besides the few common rumors. Most likely, Pylus here didn't fit with their ideal, but he wasn't truly against them, so they sent him to a remote location. But what was it that they didn't like about him? Watching the chain around his neck, Harry could make out one link that didn't fit with any of the metals he was familiar with. What is that link made of? And what is it for? Seeing the link Harry was pointing at, Pylus frowned for a moment before replying, It's Valyrian steel, my lord. Maesters who have studied the higher mysteries forge one. But, in all honesty, magic is not well liked in our order. From what I can see, your people know more about it with the skin changers you have. You even have a small dragon. So you are interested in magic. Harry said once again, summoning a flame at his fingertip to show off a bit. It was a simple variation of the fire summoning charm, always doing its trick. The eyes of the young maester widened. You are a sorcerer. If you mean a magic user, then yes. If you want, you can learn it too, besides your duties. We always need more captive people, but there is a certain condition you have to fulfill. Harry grinned as his green eyes pierced into the boy. What do you want from me? The small flame disappeared, and a contract materialized in the palm of his hand. Oh, simple. I want you to sign this. You can read it. It took a bit for Tybalt to read through it. It's a loyalty contract? Is it magical too? Or how is a clause like, the moment the signer practically even attempts to betray Lord Potter and his house, his life is forfeit and all his knowledge belongs to House Potter, supposed to be enforced? Good guess. Yes, it's basically a magical contract that will ensure your loyalty to my house. It's what you normally promise the Lord your service anyway, just without the option of betrayal. I will control which information you send to Citadel. You can tell them that the unicorns are real, but there is nothing magical about them. They are just a horned variation of a mountain goat, Harry explained. He wouldn't let the Citadel gain knowledge about what he was actually doing here yet. Sure, with his inferi and his own power, he could defend Skagos against all Westerosi armies. But he wanted to use them to get richer and gain more power too. If they were his foe, it wasn't possible. And what happens if I don't sign it? Pylus asked. I think you already know that, Harry said with a grin. But think of it. Is loyalty to an order of old men that sends you to one of the seemingly most primitive parts of the world really worth it? Especially if you can learn actual magic in exchange. It only took one moment of thought. I sign it. Good, welcome to Skagos, Pylus. Harry said before pointing at Lust. Lust will take care of you. She is currently the highest-ranking person on Skagos after me. You will serve under her. He-eighth, Pylus cried out as Lust licked her lips and once again took the leash that was still placed on Pylus's chain. Follow me, pet. We will have a lot of fun. Oh, and let Lisbeth take a look at that piece of Valyrian steel. I will do so too, once I have a bit more time, Harry shouted after them as he watched Pylus get dragged off by Lust like a dog. The boy was looking pleadingly at him. Sorry sucker. But I don't plan to become the target of Lust's sadistic streak. Rather you than me. POV. A muscular man with steel grey hair frowned slightly, gazing over a message that he had just received. System notification, a player has unlocked blacksmithing. Ore spawns are now enabled. First cooking. Then tailoring. Now blacksmithing? Just what is going on? From his spot on the cliff, his gaze wandered across the mostly empty city. NPCs of all sorts slowly meandered around on pre-programmed routes. This was the second floor of main city, Urbus. Being the creator of this game had a few advantages, like the possibility to play on the second floor while everyone was still stuck on the first. The floor should have actually had the possibility to unlock blacksmithing, tailoring, and cooking. Had the system decided that the situation was too dire? There were already 500 dead people, the majority had committed suicide in some form. But that was according to expectations. During this period, people were adjusting to the reality of the situation, with quite a high death rate. To be honest, the death rate was lower than he had expected in the first place. Sure, the suicides were about right, but he expected more deaths from mobs and the like. He could see no reason why the system reacted in such a way. Not even the one who murdered. Some psychopaths had already started killing people, but only after a few days. It takes all sorts, and a person's true personality comes out in dire situations. Not that he could talk, after all, everyone in here was because of him. Unlocking cooking, tailoring, and blacksmithing early wasn't a reason to be concerned. In fact, it would probably extend this little game of his for a bit. Still, he would have to keep an eye on whatever had caused this change. Immortal object. Turning his attention back towards the large, hunched cows bashing their heads into his back, not so much as moving him an inch. His sword began to glow a deep scarlet red as his skill activated, slashing once and catching all three animals. All three began to glow and explode into small particles of light. He had pretty much completed all the quests he had wanted to do on this floor. All he had to do now was wait for the other players to catch up and pretend to be a relatively new player. Heathcliff, LV7. Well, his level would make it a bit difficult to explain, but he could always sit back for a week or so. It won't be that boring. He could explain away his reason for not being at the floor 1 raid by endlessly grinding in a faraway corner of floor 1. Yes. That would do. Chapter 36. Come on, Crow. You got this. Don't be a dickless coward and pull that shit up, a red-haired girl exclaimed from the side. Yeah, Kibu. What she said. Don't be a little bitch, another golden brown-haired girl shouted from beside her. Stop insulting me, Ygritte, Argo. It's harder than it looks, a black-haired teen scoffed as he slowly reeled back on the fishing rod, taking deep breaths, his feet planted in the dirt so he didn't get yanked into the lake in front of him. Don't be a wimp, Crow, Ygritte scoffed. A small crowd of onlookers had surrounded the three of them. Some dude named Klein and his friends, plus a few others, saw the group and decided to spectate. Yeah, Crow. Come on, do it, shouted Klein while laughing. Almost, Argo whispered as she peered into the dark waters, spying the object that had slipped through their fingers 4 times now. Alamuist. A chest was tugged from the water and came to rest on the dock. The 2 beta testers and the wildling girl stood upon it, causing cheers to echo out from the spectators. Finally, sighed Kirito before turning towards Ygritte and complaining, "Why are you calling me Crow?" Ygritte just looked at him before she shrugged. "You look like one," making the others laugh. Instead, she pointed at the chest and said, "Now, open it, Crow." "Yeah, Crow. I want to see what's in there," Argo chirped in excitement. "Let's see," Kirito muttered, resigned to his fate. At this moment, Kirito, Argo, and Ygritte were in the same party, getting a ton of experience points every time they caught something. Although Ygritte still had problems grasping the concept of a game, the only thing she understood was that she was getting stronger while being here and choosing to follow Argo's lead. The spectators came in close, watching the black swordsman as he opened the chest. Level up. Ping plus 500 COR. Finally. It seems like we got our first piece of equipment. Argo exclaimed as she saw the item in the chest, a belt. Pirate belt. The belt of a drunken pirate who hadn't been careful enough. At least his crew had a good laugh. Just be careful while drunk. Durability, 89/89. Attributes. Defense plus 35. Plus 5% swimming speed. Requirements. STR, 12. VIT, 12. AGI, 11. Dex, 10. Damn, I still need a level to equip it, Kirito sighed. Well, at least we now know what equipment from around floor 20 looks like. And we now know for certain that the equipment Harry currently has available should last us till floor 30, Argo muttered as she mused over the stats. Yes, with Lisbeth having easy access to so much ore, until at least steel, she will get a massive head start and save many lives, Kirito agreed before he threw out his fishing pole again. It only took about 3 minutes before the bobber dipped down into the water and the fishing rod began to get tugged downward. Kirito pulled the rod back ever so slightly. Fishing proficiency leveled up. Ygritte watched the water closely as Kirito struggled with whatever was on the other end of the line. She suddenly realized what was about to happen. It's a monster. Shit! Argo shouted as she used her steel knife to slash the line. She turned, rushing away as the line slipped into the water, Kirito and Ygritte following closely. But it was already too late. The mob aggro had already been triggered. Everyone nearby rapidly backed away from the pool of water as a large red snake crawled onto the bank. Its name was blaring red with a skull beside it. Giant crab, level 29. Level 29. One of the spectators from Klein's group shrieked as they dispersed in all directions. Something is wrong with it, Ygritte said, her bow ready in her hands. She didn't really get the concept of level difference, but as long as her arrows worked, she could kill it. Kirito and Argo turned around, only to see that the gigantic red crab was slowly shambling towards Kirito, who had drawn the aggro. Really slow. Argo stopped, her eyes glowing. It has a debuff. We can kill it from a distance, she announced in excitement. This could be just as good as Harry's instant dungeons. Giant crab, level 29. Weary, there is no worthy opponent present. Its movement speed is 95% slower, and all special abilities are disabled. The others also stopped, looking back. They had already put considerable distance between them and the crab. An anti-trolling measure. As long as they kept their distance, it wasn't a threat to the new players. Sure, it would kill anyone getting too close with one hit. But they had throwing knives and, most importantly, bows and arrows, a set of weapons that they weren't supposed to have in this game. And yet, the system generated skills for it. Let's form parties. 5 with me, and another 5 with Ygritte. Use the throwing knives to deal some damage, Argo said. If they did it right, they would get so much EXP from it. The others get some more throwing knives. They don't know where Lisbeth is. She is the only one who can make them, Kirito pointed out. Argo's eyes widened, and then a bike appeared. I will go to her and get as many as she has and ask her to make more. Fishing is at a higher level. We can cheese these things to get a ton of experience. Bike. An almost otherworldly creation, the peak of technological advancement in America, combined into one simple-to-use device. Durability, 349/367. Movement speed, plus 300%. Stamina used while running, minus 25%. The door to the store opened with a loud bang as it crashed against the wall. Oi, Harry! Argo shouted as she rushed into the store, a bit out of breath, even though she was an avatar. Her bike stood right outside in the alley, hidden behind the boxes. Strangely, she didn't get the usual reply or greeting. She didn't get anything because Harry wasn't there. Behind the counter stood someone unfamiliar, and there was no sign of Harry at all. It was a fairly tall and beautiful pale-skinned woman with wavy lower back black hair that had short bangs parting at the center of her face while curving to the left and partially hiding her left eye. She had narrow mauve eyes and a very curvy and sexy figure. Right above her large breast was a tattoo, a dragon devouring its own tail with a 6-pointed star in its center. She was also wearing a very sexy form-fitting dress that showed off her large assets, and she had a pair of elegant gloves. Argo looked at the woman with suspicion for a moment, a frown on her face. Who are you? Where is Harry? You may call me Lust, the woman replied with a husky and teasing voice, a small grin forming on her red lips. Harry is out on some business. And who are you, little girl? Who are you calling a little girl, you dumb cow? Argo replied in anger, I am Argo. I was looking for Harry. Are you his bimbo or something? You look that part. Is that jealousy I hear in your voice? I am Harry's number 2. I take care of business in his territory while he is away. Sorry for you, but he enjoys a real woman, not some long-haired flat-chested tomboy, Lust replied with a teasing, but predatory, grin. A tick mark formed on Argo's head. I knew he was a pervert. She muttered, but suddenly the side door behind her opened. Oh, Argo, you are here. I thought I heard your voice. A girl's voice was heard as the door to the forge opened. Lisbeth had entered the store before she turned towards Lust. Lust, can you get me some more copper and tin? I used up my current stores. Sure can. Take care of the little girl for me. The big-breasted woman said as she left the store. As the door closed, Lisbeth turned back towards Argo and said, sorry about her. She is actually quite nice once she respects you. But she enjoys teasing other people far too much. It's fine. So where is Harry? What is he up to? Lisbeth sighed. He is on some kind of expedition. The only thing I know is that he took some of Ygritte's people and asked them to guide him into the northern part of the continent they are living on. It's supposed to be a magical and dangerous place, she explained. I see. How long will he be away? Argo asked further. She remembered him talking about his current world. It sounded like he went beyond that tall wall he had mentioned. A few weeks or something. He has his dragon with him. She was almost tall enough for him to ride on. The way back may be faster, Lisbeth replied before taking a closer look at Argo. So what brings you here today? Why the rush? Shit. Right, I forgot. I need more throwing knives. We found an easy way to cheese some high-level mobs through fishing, Argo requested quickly, remembering that she was in a hurry. We need as many as you have, so others besides Ygritte and me can collect some EXP. Right, I made quite a few of them recently. I leveled my skills up and have bronze ones now. Take them, you can repay me later, Lisbeth nodded as she sent Argo a trade request. Chapter 37. It's cold. Well, it's snow. It's supposed to be cold. Its molecules have slowed so much that it takes your energy, or in another word heat, to speed up and change their state. That loss of energy makes it feel cold for you. Harry replied patiently. I know that. I also listen to Vlad's lessons. And I often watch memories of your old classes. Tiamat complained while playing in the snow. A dragon, almost big enough to carry one person, was playing in the snow like a child. They were surrounded by a world of whiteness. Snow and ice were all present in the lands beyond the wall. These lands were wild and untamed, with harsh, cold climates. At first, they used boats to pass by the ruins of Hardhome, one of the only fixed settlements the wildlings ever had. It had been destroyed over 6 centuries ago under strange and unknown circumstances. Multiple versions of the tale existed. While Harry would love to examine and explore the ruins closer, on this expedition he had a different goal in mind. Beyond Hardhome, they further sailed north along the shoreline, fully up to the Antler River. He left a major part of his escort up there, with the river acting as a fresh source of water, to set up camp and defend their boats. He came with about 200 men, fully equipped and supplied with a surplus of weapons, food, water, and clothing. But the party he took with him was far smaller, pretty much consisting of wildlings that had joined him, all familiar with the territory. Even small in size, with him, Tiamat, and the Elgenary, this party was pretty much stronger than the 200 men that were waiting for them at their camp. Their journey took them further into the north, into colder, wilder, and darker lands. In fact, their actual goal wasn't fixed, since it was moving. They were only aware of a rough area where they had to search, around the Frost Fangs and the Valley of the Thens. Can you feel it? The voice of Jura asked in his head with a serious tone. Of course. Since we passed the wall, I had this feeling. Harry replied equally seriously. He now knew for a fact that the wall was highly magical, with tons of powerful ancient wards and spells. As soon as they had passed it from the south, the magic and atmosphere of the world had changed drastically. The wall seemed to act like a magical barrier, completely isolating and cutting off the true north, as the wildlings were calling it, from the south. Here, the magic felt different, it was more powerful but also wilder and untamed. It's a strange feeling that's hard to explain. It resembled the feeling he had in Duweldenvarden, but at the same time, there was something very different about it. In Duweldenvarden, there had been darkness and old and ancient beings hidden in its depths. But they had felt like nature, like ancient magics, ancient animals, and ancient plants, all dangerous but all part of the wild. But here, the difference could be clearly felt. Up north, in the very distant north. When he asked Rattleshirt, who acted as his guard, he called it the lands of always winter. The northernmost past of West Eros. Rattleshirt was scared of that region. Amongst the free folk, it was known that these were the places where the others slept. They even had some form of icy fortifications there. While in the past they had dared to go there and look at them, in recent years none of the people had ever returned. When he was a child, Rattleshirt had seen the ice fortresses himself. Although none of the free folk had ever entered them, those who did never came back. The oldest of the free folk told about one fortress of pure ice and evil. So evil that any man looking too long at it was befallen by a madness. It was very far in the north, passing multiple of these smaller ice fortresses, right at the top of a massive ice mountain. They even had a name for it. In their legends, they called it Hope Morn, the birthplace of the others. Other stories said it was the sleeping place of the Great Other. While their legends said the other ice fortresses were built by the others, Hope Morn, on the other hand, had always been here. A place of great evil, of death, and of ice. And Harry believed them. He could clearly feel it himself. Ice, death, and darkness. The further north he got, the more intense the feeling became. It was corrupting the land beyond the wall. The wall was blocking its influence. But the scariest thing he felt was the fact that it was getting stronger. A great evil sleeps there. Far more powerful than any dragon has ever been. Far more powerful than Galbatorix. Viladr said it in full seriousness, and he rarely spoke in words. Do you think we could fight it? Maybe if we had all the Elgenary from Galbatorix too? Harry asked. He was sure that the White Walkers were real and still alive, just sleeping. But they were definitely waking. And he needed to fight them if he wanted to make this world his own. No, Viladr replied, sending a memory of what he was feeling. Well shit. Harry tuffed. Viladr was far more experienced and perceptive than anyone he knew. He was the oldest dragon among the generi. A wild one. The things he was feeling weren't anything Harry had felt before. It was an absolute scary feeling, everything inside of him was screaming. But at the same time, it somehow felt familiar. Eddard Stark POV. A knock on the door to his solar interrupted his reading of the current harvest report as he looked up and said, "Enter." The wooden door opened, and Maester Luwin entered his solar a bit out of breath. "Excuse the interruption, Lord Stark." A raven arrived, the message was marked with a red string. "It's no problem, Luwin." Lord Stark replied as he took the message from the hands of the Elder Maester. Its parcel was sealed with plain black wax. A message from the Night's Watch. Usually, any messages he got from them were pleas for resources and more men. The Night's Watch has been in decline for centuries. Their resources are stretching thinner and thinner, especially since the South pretty much forgot about it and often doesn't even send their criminals to them anymore. But this letter was marked with a red string, a common symbol for a priority message. Eddard broke the seal and unrolled the parchment before he began to read through it. Sigh. What is he up to now? The Lord of Winterfell sighed once he finished reading through the letter. What is going on, my lord? Luwin, who had waited for Lord Stark to finish reading the message, was questioned. Harry is up to something. I mean, Lord Potter. A fleet of smaller vessels has departed from Skagos, travelling by Eastwatch into the north beyond the wall. But I have no idea what he wants to do there. All I know is that the Night's Watch has watched sail by. Lord Stark sighed. He didn't ask for permission. Maester Luwin frowned. No, he doesn't need to. He didn't use the wall. He would only need permission from me or the Lord Commander if he were using the wall. But he used his own boats. The Lord of Winterfell explained, and I can't exactly forbid him to travel north. He is a lord and doesn't exactly do something against the law or the kingdoms. For all I know, he could just want to take a look beyond the wall. But what am I supposed to do? Maybe there won't be any harm? Like you said, he just wants to take a look beyond the wall. Luwin pointed out. Sure, but what am I supposed to tell my other lords? Or the Night's Watch? I still need to know what is going on there, or my lords will lose respect for me. A journey beyond the wall could affect the whole north. Eddard sighed. On the other hand, neither can I offend him. Skagos is very defendable and hard to invade. If they become our enemies, it could become very troublesome and harmful for the north. I need to know what's going on without offending Lord Potter. Maester Luwin thought about it for a moment before advising, well, he is a lord of the north. He has sworn allegiance to you. Directly asking through a letter could be seen as an offense, or he could view it as House Stark being suspicious of House Potter. But he is still one of your bannermen. So couldn't you invite him for, let's say, young Lord Rob's 13th name day? This would be an opportunity for the other northern lords to meet your children too, and the new Lord of Skagos. That's a solid plan. I was already worrying about how I could strengthen the bond between my children and the other northern houses. Inviting all northern houses wouldn't look as strangely as if I had just invited Harry. Eddard thought about it. It was about time for Rob to meet more of his future bannermen. And he could use the opportunity to question Harry discreetly. There was still the fact about Harry's magic to consider. There are many legends about things beyond the wall. Chapter 38. It's been over a month since he traveled beyond the wall and began his search around the forest fangs in this harsh climate. Luckily, if he had chosen to only take the former members of the Free Folk on this journey, the Skagosi troops would have slowed him down considerably. But the more time he spent up here, the clearer it became that he would be unable to fulfill his main objective. This objective was the one he had already spent the most time on, and still he didn't seem to get any closer. He had been searching for the legendary children of the forest. A race of non-humans able to use magic related to nature itself. They were the supposed origin of the abilities of skin changers and green seers, but they had even more beyond theirs. Some of their legendary feats consist of powerful nature magic that destroyed parts of the Westerosi continent or permanently changed them. Through some kind of magical ritual, they summoned the Hammer of the Waters and destroyed the land bridge between Westeros and Essos. They tried to repeat the same with the Neck, the area that connects the north with the south, but it only resulted in turning it into a swamp region. Harry was certain that they really existed. Sirius had left notes and books about them, he even worked with them during his lifetime. While they were physically weaker than humans, they had some very powerful magical abilities. To be honest, he was even absolutely certain that they were alive. With scrying spells, he managed to confirm that they were still alive even today, somewhere north beyond the wall. But that's where his problem starts. Alone casting spells that confirmed their existence had used a considerable amount of power. And he still didn't know where they were. Even the combined power of him, Tiamat, and the 3 Elgeneri were unable to scry their current location. It didn't matter which form of magic or which spell he used. Be it wizarding magic or an advanced spell in the ancient language, the location of the children of the forest remained hidden from them. The only thing they were certain of was that the children were surrounded by powerful magical protections or wards that could understand the combined power of several dragons. At the very least, they were able to combine the power of their magic too. We should be soon there. Rattleshirt announced this as he was at the head of the party, leading them through a snowy path in the frost fangs. All the former members of the Free Folk were very accustomed to this region and knew the hidden paths and how to navigate through this wilderness. Good, I can't wait to finally return home. Our time is getting close. Harry muttered as he wandered behind Rattleshirt with some other Free Folk. Tiamat was flying above them, disillusioned, so it would be harder to spot her. It was nice to allow her to fly freely in other regions besides Skagos. She always had to hide since he didn't want to make her existence public knowledge. But here, north of the wall, rumors about a dragon would not spread into the 7 kingdoms. At most, it would be considered the same type of rumor as giants, children of the forest, or the others. It isn't our fault that you decided to take a round trip through the true north. I told you the children have died out, they haven't been spotted for hundreds of years. Rattleshirt complained, a bit disgruntled. Then we agree to disagree. The children are still out there, just hidden behind powerful wards that conceal them. Harry sighed, as he felt he had that discussion a few times too often these days. And they will understand me. You speak the old tongue, so there should be no problem. Rattleshirt answered decisively as he continued to lead them on their snowy path through the frost fangs. It was very likely that their goal already knew they were approaching. After all, the giants had a very keen sense of smell, and they weren't very far from their camp. The existence of Tiamat would without a doubt alarm them about their arrival. She must be excluding such a strong and unique smell that the giants would have noticed her without a doubt. It wasn't every day that you could smell a dragon. The frost fangs were the place where the last giants in this world were living. At least as far as he knew. While there had been finds of giant bones even in Essos, he couldn't find any rumors about living ones there, and the further away, the more muddy the rumors became. Anything behind Yeti, like the Grey Waste, was completely out of his reach for any serious rumors. His whole expedition to the true north was in order to find the children of the forest and the giants, so he could recruit them. Harry was very interested in the magic of the children, their knowledge could become very useful for him. Unfortunately, they had disappeared and hidden away, even from his own eyes. While the giants, not famous for their magic, were still a powerful force, he absolutely wanted to recruit them. Alone, their martial power was nothing to scoff at with their big size. Imagine putting them in proper armor with good weapons, and he had walking steel titans of destruction. But according to the information he had from the free folk that had joined his land, their number wasn't big anymore. At most, there were a few hundred of them remaining. If this was really true, then it wasn't worth it to use them for his army. After all, strong, large humans had other uses beyond military might. Their natural strength would easily ease any transport inside his land, not having to rely on the primitive wagons he had currently. Also, they were far more flexible than a wooden wagon or a wooden crane and could be far more efficient in construction and logistics. Alone, this would make them a powerful resource, improving the economy of his land. And in the worst case, once their numbers had recovered, he could still use them for his own military. Suddenly, Tiamat sent him a mental image, hurry. She flew high above them in the skies and could scout and see ahead of them. Their goal still lay behind a few hills that were blocking their direct line of sight. But what Tiamat had shown him made him worry. From the sky, she could see that the giants were currently in the middle of combat. Around 100 giants were surrounded by attackers that looked like walking corpses or zombies. Thousands of them were attacking these giants with no mercy. It didn't seem like they were feeling pain or were even stopped by physical damage. Multiple of these fights had been sent flying by the wooden clubs of the giants, and after landing, they just rushed back into battle as if nothing had happened. Take a defensive position on that hill. Make some fire. It looks like the giants are currently under attack from the dead. Harry ordered his party of free folk before he requested Tiamat to guard them. Alone, he rushed off in the direction of the battle. Shouldn't you ride Tiamat into battle? She's big enough for it? Miremel asked inside his mind. No, I need her to guard my men. Based on my guess, these undead are weak to fire. She can take care of any attacker with her dragon fire, while my men are unable to use magic and have to rely on natural fire. Harry reasoned as he continued to sprint over the hills, as he could see the battle in front of him. The giants were right in peril, as the undead were attacking them tirelessly. Some of these undead were even wearing armor with horned helmets that looked vaguely familiar. They were acting as leaders of the other undeads that were hoarding the diminishing numbers of giants. Most of the undead were rotting corpses, partially already fallen apart. Some were wearing the black rags that once may have been the cloaks of the Night Watch, but most of them were in pelts and leather armor, which was so common amongst the free folk. It was clear that these wars were the reanimated corpses of the people found in the true north. They were slowly decaying, but thanks to the cold in these lands, most of them would last for centuries, if not longer. On the other hand, the armored undead were different. They weren't rotting, but rather looked mummified. There was no trace of rot on their bodies, but still, they were clearly undead. With their Nordic-looking armor, they clearly stood out from amongst the crowd of undead. Harry had no more time to think about them as he readied his own blade, prepared to face the first of the armored undead directly. It had noticed him approaching and directly blocked his blade with its own. The blue eyes of the undead pierced into Harry as his eyes widened. That horned shape of the helmets, the style of the weapon, and the armor, he knew where he had seen it before. It was too late before he could react. There was a deep, booming voice, Fus Ro Da. Chapter 39. The impact of the unrelenting force shout the Dragra Overlord had let off, hit Harry squarely in the chest, and sent him flying several meters. His landing drained more than 10% of his life bar. Ouch, that was stupid, muttered Harry as he got up again. It was good that his body was a game avatar, or he would have carried off several bruises and abrasions from that landing. They would have made the fight a pain in the ass. Or rather, really painful. Proceeding more calmly, he observed the battlefield. While he didn't recognize the thousands of undead that were most spread on the battlefield, he clearly recognized the ones leading them. They were Dragra overlords or some of their higher variants, with some more common Dragra accompanying them. What the hell is going on? What are Skyrim monsters doing here? Harry muttered before he thought about what he just did, jumping blindly into the battlefield, trying to be a badass like Madara Uchiha or something. I am an idiot. There was no way that he could kill an army of undead with just his sword skills. While he was stronger than an average human thanks to his elvish biology, he was not an army killer. Especially against a foe that wouldn't be intimidated by his superhuman strength and skills. TCH. My main skill is magic, either way. I always wanted to try this against real enemies. The undead had clearly noticed his previous stunt, and some of them were rushing at him. Harry calmly stretched his hand out, the white silvery mark of his Gedwasi Ignatia visible on his palm. I will need your help to control it. He asked the Elgeneri as their minds and magic combined before shouting, Pestis Incendium. With a roaring, billowing noise, flames shot from the palm of his hand. It took only moments since its appearance, and the group of incoming wights had already been consumed by the flames. Quickly, the fire began to spread out. These abnormally large flames took all kinds of shapes and forms of different mythical animals like serpents, chimeras, and dragons, as they consumed everything in their path. Fiend Fire. The most powerful and destructive wizarding spell in Harry's arsenal at the same time, it was also the hardest one to control. Even after becoming an elf and having a quiet high level, his stats focused on magic-related ones, and he still had a lot of trouble keeping the flames under his control. To cast it and control them in such a wide range, he needed the help of the 3 Elgeneri that were always with him. With utmost focus, he guided them towards the horde of undead, attacking the tribe of giants. Flaming animals began to consume the undead corpses as the air began to smell more and more of burning flesh. It was a strange smell, in all honesty, not as bad as he would have imagined rotten flesh to smell. From behind the flames, he could see that the Dragra were casting ice magic, trying to stop the flames. But at most, it was only slowing them down. The common wights got consumed by the fire without any problems. He was focused on controlling the flames, guiding them around the surrounded giants, but he still noticed that on the other side, a group of Dragra overlords had gathered, ready to face the incoming flames together. Fokratiin. Multiple deep rumbling voices resounded as the Dragra overlords shouted multiple continuous blasts of frost and ice against his burst of fiend fire. To his own surprise, the combined power of their frost breath held against his magical flames, and a massive gust of hot steam spread in the area. This stalemate lasted for several seconds as they kept their dragon shout up. But at some point they began to run out of juice, and the flames spread towards them and consumed them too in their process. As soon as he confirmed that all wights and dragra had been burned to ashes, Harry got ready to take care of the most exhausting part, now together. He communicated mentally as he began to overpower the flames together with the 3 dragon minds. It took several minutes for them to extinguish the last flame they had conjured. "That fiend fire of yours is fearsome." Jura communicated mentally with a bit of shiver in her voice. Why did the magic these undead use feel like dragon magic? These were dragon shouts. They are from a plane of existence called Mundus, where dragons also exist. These dragons have their own language they are using to cast magic. It is not dissimilar from the ancient language, but they combine the words in the form of shouts. Even mortals can learn them. Harry gave a short explanation. "I believe these dragra are the undead servants of a dragon cult that have served these dragons in the past. They are common in the region of Skyrim. At least if I remember my lore correctly." "Loot corpses? Yes or no?" 3,219 X-Whites looted. 3,219 X-White ashes gained. 363 X-Dragra looted. 363 X-Gold septims gained. 159 X-Bone meal gained. 12 X-Petty soul gems gained. 35 X-Lesser soul gems gained. 127 X-Restless Dragra looted. 127 X-Gold septims gained. 67 X-Bone meal gained. 14 X-Common soul gems gained. 7 X-Greater soul gems gained. 38 X-Dragra overlords looted. 38 X-Gold septims gained. 31 X-Bone meal gained. 5 X-Grand soul gems gained. Okay, these are nice. Soul gems will be nice to research. Maybe I can replicate them." Harry thought as he read through the loot he just gained from killing a few thuds and undead. He had no idea what he would do with the white ashes. It wasn't an ingredient he was familiar with since the wizarding world didn't have any wights or dragra. There were zombies and inferi, but he had no idea how to use ingredients from them for ponies either. His knowledge about potion was simply too limited. In the meantime, the giants had eyed him with suspicion. A big one and the oldest looking amongst them with a white-streaked grey pelt, in companion with 2 other hairy giants, had approached him. The grey-pelted one spoke to him in the old tongue. "Who are you, fireman?" "I am Harry Potter, leader of Skagos. I have come to invite your people to become some of my own and live in my land." Harry announced it directly. "I am Mag Martundo Weg. Giants only follow strong," was the short reply the giant gave. Harry looked around at the 3 giants in front of him and at the burned field of ashes behind them. Where they had been moments ago, surrounded by thousands of undead that had mercilessly attacked the giants, and then back at the giant with a disbelieving face. "I am strong. I just killed an army of the dead." "Magic killed. Proof your strength, and the giants will follow," Mag replied stubbornly. Harry sighed as he pulled his sword out. It was only his enchanted one, which he had to regularly enchant again since the spells were only applied to the surface. He didn't want to use the sword ice since it would probably be considered magic too. Also, it was the only one of this kind of sword he had. "Then face me. I will fight any of your champions to prove my strength," Harry said as he quietly cast in the ancient language a few empowering spells that made him stronger too. While he was confident in overpowering any human, he was a bit skeptical about how he compared to a giant. They were massive and should be able to bring out massive amounts of strength, proportional to their size. "Mag the Mighty will fight you." The old giant said it in a short sentence. It seemed like the giants weren't the most intelligent species. While they had sense, their speech patterns were slow and short. It took them a while to think things over. But they were intelligent enough to work and become soldiers. Even the soldier part would have to wait for a few decades. There were barely 100 giants remaining among their survivors. Harry couldn't sense any more in the area. Their children and bearded women had also been in the crowd that had been attacked by the whites. It just took Harry a while to identify them as such. Then there was the matter of the whole attack. While he had guessed that the White Walkers and their hordes of undead were still existing, that much was clear from Sirius warnings in his books. The matter of these Dragra amongst them was complicating everything enormously. Were Dragra the White Walkers? Or did the White Walkers have a similar ability to his dimensional traitor? Or did they just have another ability that connected them to Skyrim? Or is it just a summons? There were so many questions that he probably wouldn't answer anytime soon. After all, his instincts told him to stay away from further north. The Dragr he had faced weren't even the strongest ones living in Skyrim. What else could be up there? Liches? Dragon priests? Undead dragons? Harry decided to ignore the questions for now and looked at Mag. Then let's see who is stronger, Mag the Mighty. Chapter 40. They are elites from the HQ. Shit, run. Damn it. Please let us go. We are willing to hand her over. Sto peng peng. The distant echoes of countless gunshots reverberated loudly in the rain, accompanied by the fading cries and pleas that were silenced forever. A small shadow didn't stop as she heard them. She kept running through the night. That sound was something she was deeply familiar with. This experience was a repeating occurrence in her life. Every home she found would be taken from her by her continuous pursuer. No matter where she fled, it always ended in betrayal and pain. This was her life. Always on the run. Find her. She has to be here somewhere. A deep male voice ordered harshly. Yes, sir. Form a perimeter. Search the area. She followed a mixed bunch of voices from behind her that were spreading out in all directions. This time, she was slower than usual in her escape. Her pursuers were closer than she would like and had a real chance to find her. Unfortunately, she had noticed them too late since she felt unusually comfortable and safe today. A basic mistake. Normally, she is always attentive and ready to flee at the first sign of trouble. But today she missed the signs. And the consequences were the loud footsteps of hundreds of people so close behind her. No matter what, she didn't stop. If she stopped, her pursuers would find her, and she would break her promise. She needed to live. She promised it. Run. She needed to run. It was too late. They had found her. There she is. Don't let her escape. Fire. We need to stop the devil child no matter what. A volley of bullets landed around her as the elite soldiers from the Marine headquarters fired at her. Nico Robin had painfully learned that the elites from the Grand Line were different from the Marines usually present in the West Blue. Unfortunately, these ones were always responsible for hunting her down in combination with the secret agencies of the world government called Cypher Paul. They would never let her be, but she couldn't give up. Devil child Nico Robin. Surrender and face justice. A voice from behind her shouted as she, in complete panic, ran from them. She needed to get away from them, out of their line of sight. Just how? They were so close behind her, every last one of them was a trained veteran from the Grand Line. There. A dark and small alley. She could shake them off there. They would lose sight of her. Nico Robin rushed into the alley, the soldiers with their muskets aiming at her still from a bit of distance away. Behind her, the bullets were hitting the ground as she vanished into the alley. Only to stop. Right in front of her was a wall. This was no alley but a dead end. They would catch her. Suddenly, she saw something shimming in the wall. A door. She ripped it open and rushed inside. Maybe she could find a way out inside. The voices behind her are coming closer and closer. So Lisbeth is out leveling with Argo and Kirito? Who would have thought they would find such an easy glitch to get high-level experience? Harry muttered as he listened to the report Lust was giving him as they stood in the store. Lust was the one who was taking care of the store in his absence for the most part. Lisbeth would also help out often. Too bad. I wanted to test whether she could create armor and weapons in a size that fits giants. I don't believe her skills had a size adjustment function. He sighed as he finally managed to return from the true north. Even while wanting to leave as soon as possible and put as much distance between himself and whatever there is in the lands of Neverwinter and Hopemorn, it took quite a lot of time. After all, they had a few hundred giants they needed to transport. And obviously, they weren't feet on the boats they used to ship over. Harry had actually used alchemy to transmute bigger, rudimentary fairies that were large enough to transport multiple giants out of the wood they had gathered. They weren't of the same quality, as if a shipbuilder would have built them. After all, he didn't have a lot of understanding of ships, but they fulfilled their purpose. Still, he needed to improve his alchemy skill. Drawing a transmutation cycle each time was annoying. Unfortunately, he wasn't certain whether he would learn how to use alchemy by just clapping his hands. After all, he was grinding the skills whenever he could. But he knew how he would get it. After all, he was familiar with the story of Full Metal Alchemist, at least roughly. I am sure she will soon return. You still have me if you are lonely. Lust replied with a teasing grin. Be careful that I don't take you up on your offer. Always teasing me, why did I even recruit you in the first place? Harry sighed as he looked at her warily, a faint blush on his cheeks. Because you need captive people. I believe you had other reasons too. My door is always open, by the way. She smirked with a predatory grin, sending a shiver up his spine. Whatever he wanted to say was interrupted by the loud bang of the store door opening and a shape rushing in. She ran into that alley up there. Don't let her get away. We need to capture that devil. Many voices could be heard from the outside as a girl around his current age stormed into the door. The panic in her eyes was clearly visible. The sound of many steps got louder and louder. While the girl looked familiar, or at least was triggering something in Harry's memories, he still didn't recognize her. He was certain he hadn't met her personally till now, so it was most likely a character from another universe he hadn't visited before. It was a light brown-skinned, tall, slender young girl with long limbs and shoulder-length black hair and eyes that had dark, wide pupils in a cerulean blue. Her nose was long, thin, and defined. She wore a black dress with a white collar. She is quite a beautiful young girl, even in her disheveled and exhausted state. She looked at them in fear, as she had realized she wasn't alone in the room. Observe. Harry thought as the familiar screen with her information appeared in front of his eyes, making them widen as he realized who had just strayed into his store. That's unexpected. The girls still stared at them, frozen in fear, as Harry spoke up, close the door. It will make it disappear on the other side, and the Marines will be unable to follow you here, Nico Robin. Having heard him, Nico Robin regained her bearings and closed the door behind her. But she still eyed them warily while listening to the other side, only to realize that the sound of the voices hunting after her had disappeared. It was quiet on the other side of the door. Don't worry about it. They won't find the door. You are in a completely different place now. Somewhere, they are unable to follow you. It was a trick he had figured out after the drama with Durza the Shade when he followed Arya into the store. The store was actually reacting to his wishes, at least on some level. If he wanted to get new customers, he would get some in the near future, though he couldn't determine who. The same goes for who could find the store. If he didn't wish for other people to find the store or no new customers, then the store would react to his desire. Is that a devil fruit ability? Nico Robin asked, still looking at him and lusting in suspensation. She is cute. Can we keep her? Lust asked teasingly from the side, somehow defusing the tense situation slightly. Not now, Lust. Harry sighed before looking at Robin again. While there are some similarities, it's not an ability coming from a devil fruit. I can still swim. But you can think of it in a similar manner. This ability allows me to create a store that connects to different places. Robin nodded. You clearly know who I am. You called me out by my name. Why are you not selling me out? You could collect my bouquet right now. What are your goals? Why are you helping me? That's a bit complex to answer. Harry replied, collecting his thoughts. It always was the hardest part to explain the store to someone else, or what his actual goals are. First of all, I didn't lure you here or seek you out specifically. It was you who found the store by coincidence and opened the door. Our meeting wasn't planned.
Thanks for listening.